Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The government will provide the Azimio Alliance with security ahead of their rally at Kamkunji grounds today and next Monday. Interior CS Kithure Kindiki says that they've made plans to ensure security officers are deployed to provide safety for those who will be present at the event.
In our culture as a democracy, we are not interested as the ministry responsible for our national security to interrupt the freedoms that are supposed to be enjoyed by the people of Kenya, because doing so would undermine our constitutional order, and we will not be part of any program or effort to undermine our constitution. In that regard, the Ministry of Interior is making all the necessary security arrangements to ensure these, our fellow Kenyans, can exercise their right to associate, to demonstrate, to protest, or to make their grievances known to whatever authorities whatsoever.
Now, even after Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza made 70 apologies to the county MCA's Assembly Minority Whip Dennis Kiogora has tabled a second motion of impeachment against Kiogora. Will not prosecute the motion within the next 7 days. The governor is accused of nepotism, illegal appointment and unlawful dismissal.
To order the adjournment date of its first session on the approved first session calendar of the Third Assembly from 9th December 2022 to Wednesday 21st December 2022. Will as many of a similar opinion say aye? Will as many of our contrary opinions say nay? The ayes have it and the motion is passed.
Now, only students who will be registered on the NEMIS system will receive study materials for junior secondary schools in January. Education PS Baga Kipsang has asked primary school heads to ensure that all students joining grade 7 are registered in order to facilitate the distribution of materials.
We shall also be working with our partners, including our members of parliament, to ensure, as the president directed, that our children are able to access all the basic facilities, including laboratories and books, as we do this particular transition. I will therefore ask you, as our ed teachers, that we capture all the information that was expected of us in NEMIS. Going forward, we shall only have one source of truth, which will be NEMIS, and all our activities will be NEMIS based.
He further asked parents to prepare themselves to have their children home full-time, as boarding schools for junior secondary students would soon be abolished.
We must remain with our responsibility. We co-parent with teachers. We don't outsource parenting to teachers. And therefore, we must work together towards making our children acquire the values that we expect of them. Therefore, as we move forward, day schooling will be the direction, because that's the only way we shall be able to engage with our children. And the first 9 years of our learning between grade 1 and grade 9, the direction that government will be taking is day schooling.
Now, more than 3.5 million Kenyan children will miss school in January due to the ongoing drought. A report by Save the Children has revealed that as the hunger crisis worsens, children have been forced to drop out of school to assist their parents in search of water and pasture. The report further states that this number is expected to increase to 1.6 million. This even comes as the cabinet has disbursed over 17 million shillings towards the drought situation in the country. Now, the controversy surrounding the death of baby Travis Minor has taken a new twist. Kenyatta National Hospital says the 2-year-old, who had a fork jembe lodged in his head, could have been a victim of a fight involving his parents. KNH CEO Evans Kamuri told Senate Health Committee that Judy Muthoni, the mother, after learning about the death of her son, wailed, saying the jembe had been aimed at her by the husband. The CEO said doctors who attended to Minor doubted whether the boy sustained the injury while playing with the others. The CEO further accused Muthoni of lying about being asked to pay 20,000 shillings before the baby could be attended to. And finally, it's a sigh of relief for Top Cohen's wife, Sarah Wairimu, who was linked to late husband's murder case after the court accepted the application for withdrawal made by the DPP last week. She has asked the President, William Ruto, to intervene in the case. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4. Get to see the world through a new lens and capture the moments that truly matter.
Middle of the week, what are we looking at on Nairobi streets today? Not much, actually. Hasn't started to build up on the thicker superhighway just yet. Coming off Mombasa Road, we have a little bit of traffic here and there. It should not be too bad. Well, okay, here's the thing. If you're trying to turn in at General Motors, you're not going to be able to do that because that has been closed off. And this, we're talking about both sides, right? Coming in from Imaradima and also coming in from Mombasa Road, that's outbound traffic. So that little design flaw is going to mess up quite a number of folks today. So if you're trying to make that turn, you're going to have to go all the way down towards Airtel to be able to turn around. So it's going to be a fun morning, don't you think? And we're going to look at some traffic that's going to be caused because of that. Let's take a look at what happens about half an hour or so. We'll be here to let you know. Talk to us as well. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
6. It's cold. Mtu aweze guza hii mashine na gloves.
Mtu amechukua kiti yangu bana.
Kiti yako imechukuliwa?
Mimi naenda kuchukua ingine hii si yangu. I'm slipping and sliding. Just understand me. Sawa?
Wewe enda uchukue kiti. Siti, kiti yako iko sawa?
Yes. Iko sawa.
Iko sawa?
Iko sawa kabisa.
Haya. I think at this rate ndio atasimama tu kwa show leo. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, everybody. It's the 7th day of December 2022. How are you doing? Siti,
Yes, please.
how was your day yesterday?
My day yesterday was good.
Umelalaje ndugu yangu?
Nimelala vizuri na pia nikaamka vizuri.
Very good.
Baridi pia inaonekana imepungua kidogo.
Imepungua? Hawajaniambia hivyo.
Mimi mwili ndio unieleza mambo hayo.
Mwili sasa inasikia joto.
No, haisikii joto lakini
Kuna pesa. Wewe uko na pesa, wewe ni pesa ya kusumbua.
inasumbua roho ama inasumbua mfuko.
Ni pesa nakupatia joto.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. Yes.
You're now fine.
I'm okay. Sasa things the way they're supposed to be.
Very good. Very good.
Did you sleep well?
I did.
There's a thought that lingers behind thine eyes.
No, I slept well.
It looks like you wanted to say something else.
Aye?
Sit down.
I didn't sleep enough.
No, but when you slept, you slept well.
I slept well.
Very good.
Yeah, I think at some point Leo to take some time to take a nap and then we continue. For the safety of all passengers.
The pilot.
The pilot will have to take a nap. Hiya, let me tell you what we'll be discussing today, shall I? 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. What's the view of the LGBTQI plus community in Kenya? There's such a community. Are they registered under an association? They'll tell us. We'll have two people joining us. Gilbert Mitula Omware is a pro bono lawyer, academic and consultant in human rights, criminal justice, and legal research. And Ivy Werimba is a communications and advocacy officer at GALCK Plus.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
No, please.
Neither do I.
Okay.
She'll tell us. That's a 7 a.m. conversation. We'll be having that conversation about the rights of the LGBTQ plus community and what they think about what? Human and Yote. 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. When do the 16 days end? On Saturday, the 10th.
Yes.
And that is the World Human Rights Day.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's a good one. At 9 o'clock, we will have Irene Ochola, who is a client services officer, access to justice team at the Federation of Women Lawyers in Kenya, FIDA. We'll be talking about gender-sensitive mediation. What is gender-sensitive mediation?
Start with mediation.
Okay. So
Then
mediation is
when you're
mediation.
through with mediation,
You go
it
to
means you've
gender.
mediated.
Then now you put them
Put it
together.
gender.
Hii mambo yote ya gender sensitive. Now they're living with gender sensitive shopping.
Shopping.
Yes.
Yes.
Gender sensitive shopping is when you and your significant other go shopping together.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Okay, sour.
That one, it hit home. Yeah. So these are more conversations on in the situation room today. Ndu.
Yes.
Hii mambo ya COVID unaonaje?
Nimeona that you cannot be a dictator for long. And that at some point, you're going to have to let down your guard.
Okay.
Otherwise, tutakuwa na shida.
Okay.
Let me tell you.
Tell us.
44 new cases in Kenya from a sample size of 661. Recoveries are at 42. Deaths are at 0. That's what's happening in Kenya. The largest number of cases is at 17 in Nairobi, followed by 9 in Trans Nzoia. Siaya has 7. Nakuru 6. Kisumu 3 and Nyeri 2. If we look around the world, 650,940,981. That's what the global tally looks like. 10% of those have resulted in death. Continuing to look at, a few numbers here and there, but really nothing earth-shattering. China is dismantling its zero-COVID machine. This is reported by The Economist today. According to official data, the latest outbreak of COVID-19 is waning in China. The number of new cases has fallen recently to fewer than 30,000 a day from a peak of more than 40,000 in late November. But that is probably because fewer people are doing what? Are being tested. Anecdotal evidence suggests that more Chinese are catching the disease, increasing the risk of a very large wave. That is a troubling prospect for China's under-vaccinated population. It's still saying that less than 50% of the Chinese population has been vaccinated fully. Far from locking down, the government is loosening its COVID controls. So before, you could not go to bars and restaurants. Those are slowly opening up. You could not quarantine at home if you were COVID-19 positive. You had to go to a center, a government-approved center. Now they're saying it's okay, you can quarantine at home. You couldn't get onto the public transport system without a negative PR test. And they're saying, okay, let's start to open this up. Remember, before it was absolutely no, zero COVID policy, but it is starting to look as though the tight reins on COVID measures might be loosened or are already being loosened in the days to come. Does Mandamano work? Looks like even in China it does.
It was a plan all along.
Mandamano not working in China?
There was no Mandamano in China. A country of 1 billion people. 0.0002% of a population mandamanoed.
And they look at the COVID-19 restrictions
of a
being
billion
released.
And they made a president of 1 billion people.
Do you remember how it was zero COVID policy? Zero COVID now. even with high 30,000 cases still per day. And they're saying, okay, well, then maybe we can relax a little bit.
How many people are dying?
1,000, about 1,000. Well, look, about 1,000 people have died. Not
Over
are
what
dying.
period of time?
Over the last 3 weeks.
Yes. And if it wasn't
very
for
high number
COVID,
for
It is a high number.
if there was no COVID, would they also still have died?
Who knows? They would have been hit by a bus.
You see,
We
the
don't
thing
know.
is, when we are told 1,000 people died, people die every day. Even before COVID, people were dying.
But now from this one particular thing, and those are varied cases, you can't say that 1,000 people were hit by a bus every day in China. Here now we're saying there has been one cause of this death, and that cause is what
So
they're
the
trying to
1,000 we're
stamp
speaking
out.
of is COVID.
Yes.
COVID-related deaths.
Yes, please.
Okay.
You get it?
Okay. So COVID caused the death.
Yes.
Okay.
1,000.
Over the last
3 months.
Eh?
over the last 3 months.
3 months.
Yes.
300.
It's a big
Every
number
month.
because if you're going to do a comparison in
Very
terms
big
of what
number for
happened
China.
over the last 1 year,
Remember, less than 100,000 people have died in China since 2019.
less than 100,000 people have been infected with COVID. It was 85,000 by the time the rest of the world caught up with COVID-19 cases.
So what is it telling us about COVID?
It's not anyway. It's not gone yet.
No, it ended mainstream, meaning it's a disease people are going to have to learn to live with.
Live with, like the flu.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because extinguishing the flu, can you? The answer is no.
No, you can't. Can you extinguish COVID? Probably it's just going to be
The answer again is no.
latent presence in the communities around
Yes.
the world. It's going to be there.
And remember, what we keep being told is the way you manage it is by keeping those simple ABCs, washing your hand.
And the other one
Avoid,
as well.
yeah, and the other one.
Be faithful.
I say,
Okay,
we're
no.
talking about COVID.
Please
ABC.
ignore this guy.
18 minutes after 6. What are the ABCs? There's nothing at you. Wash your hands. Abstain from contact.
Look straight ahead.
Are you online? Because you are live streaming the show, please, if you're online, let us know where you're tuned in from. After you take a look at the weather forecast, we will be doing our usual roll call.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Available in select Samsung stores countrywide.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi, highs of 26 and lows of 16 today. It's clear at 13 in Nakuru, highs of 27 and lows of 12, and 14 and cloudy in Nyeri. We'll see highs of 24. 25 will be the high in a clear Eldoret at 13. It'll come down to lows of 12, and it's mostly clear at 25 in Mombasa, going to highs of 32. We're looking at sunny conditions already in Malindi at 25, highs of 31 and lows of 25. It's 19 and clear in Kisumu. We'll see highs of 29, and we'll go to highs of 30 in Kakamega, where it's currently clear at 17. Looking out into Kampala, 20 and rain showers, highs of 27 and lows of 18. It's also raining in Dar es Salaam at 26. It'll go to highs of 32. Johannesburg is sunny at 12, highs of 22 today, and it'll go to highs of 32 and a partly cloudy. Lagos at 26. 24 and a rainy morning in Kinshasa, highs of 30 and lows of 23. Looking out into Beijing, it's sunny Wednesday afternoon at 4 degrees, highs of 7 and lows of -5. There's a fog over Paris skies and it's bang on 0. We'll see highs of 5 today. 4 degrees and cloudy in Paris, London, going to highs of 5 and lows of -1. And it's a rainy night Tuesday in New York, coming into Wednesday. We'll see highs of 13 and lows of 11.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Eddie Odor is online, but he's not too happy this morning. Not a happy camper, Eddie. He says the situation is pathetic.
What situation?
Oui, I don't know. Let me tell you. The new government operatives are talking too much, too loud, and recklessly. Oui. Elections are over, and they should concentrate on delivering their promises. Not even Mandamano will save us. Bure kabisa. Oh, woo. Okay. Good morning, Eddie. Apache is tuning from Goa.
Bless
Ndu
you.
Oko. Okay, Ndu and Oko are two different names.
Anna Space Bwana.
Ada space Add a space, Apache. He says, a request on a discussion on tourism and a panel topic exploring the potential of Lake Victoria shoreline in Kisumu County, e.g. in Goa, we international 5-star hotels are on the front row of Ateke. Okay, how the lake can help in tourism. Okay.
So you read that message.
I've read it. It's
Again?
Okay. I request a discussion on tourism and a panel topic exploring the potential of Lake Victoria shoreline in Kisumu County. E.g. in Goa, we international 5-star hotels, e.g. the Marriott Hotel, are on the front row of Panjim City Lake.
Okay.
You get it?
Okay. So developing some hotels and proper starred hotels along the lake.
Many people do it. Cape Town, you have quite a number of hotels on the shoreline. Looking at tourism and what can actually do. There are many. You have Fisherman's Wharf off the coast of California and things like that. It's possible, Abby.
Yeah.
So Kisumu, it's possible.
Okay.
To do the thing.
That's
Good morning.
Good idea.
Good idea, Apache. Locked online. How is the Trinity? Jojo Mugele. The Trinity even. Paul Ntaia says, good morning from, I really like that name, Ntaia. Narok East is listening. Good morning. Collins Kiptai Kipsat, already in the house. Karibu Sana. Kimilili, well tuned. TSR is my Bible. Wow. Okay. Good morning. Thanks for the program. Tumisime from Uganda is watching you live in Mbarara. Great to have you in this morning.
Tumusime is always a very nice name.
Yes, that too. Some of these names really do tickle me.
The author of Bogi Benda is called Tumusime.
Yeah, it's also a Rwandese name, and you'll find the name in parts of Burundi as well. Anyway,
okay.
Helikaya Marenya says, good morning. Eric, CT and Ndu along Outer Ring. Indeed, good morning to you. Good morning. My name is Cherno Shuaibu Jalo. Can you guess where that name is from, CT?
Repeat.
Cherno Shuaibu Jalo.
Druma.
No. Leave the country.
Go elsewhere.
North or south?
Fly away.
Go west, young man.
If I'm to go west, Senegal.
Close.
I'd have gone there as well.
You would have, right? Yes. However, try.
Why are you insisting that we must speak of Cameroon?
No. It's Sierra Leone. And it's interesting because he said, all the way from Freetown in Sierra Leone, smiling, hearing CT read the Proverbs, I wish he can say them in Creole. Creole is spelled Krio. We see it as Creole. He says, I wish you can say them in Creole. So Jalo is asking if you can say that. Can you try? Simon Odhiambo is tuned in this morning and says, getting a frequency in Migori, I'm finding it hard. Please, all the way from Magarini to stay outside the room is a shame. Not even not fun. It's a shame. So what would be the frequency in Migori County?
Is it the same frequency as the one we have in Kisumu? 102.5.
Can we try like that?
Yes, we can try.
All right, Simon, let's try and see what happens. 102.5. Try and let us know how you fare. Robert Mbogo says, good morning, tuning from Mombasa. Kolwen, Nyakach sub-county is where Cleophas Anam is tuned in this morning. Did you see those Moroccans last night? It was fantastic in the penalties shootout that took place. It was great to watch.
Wow.
It was really nice. MCR James Kimanzi is tuning in this morning and tuning from Isinya in Kajiado County. That's where Marias is. Karibuni sana. Good morning and welcome.
Karibu sana Kilimutu. City?
Yes.
Do like that.
I will do exactly like that. We are still in Sierra Leone.
All right.
Okay.
A man who takes a deep breath.
Do not tell a man who is carrying you that he stinks.
That he's
taking a deep breath.
Do not tell a man who's carrying you that he stinks.
You know what will happen if you do?
Drop you.
Not difficult to figure out, is it?
No, please.
It's the same thing as that finger, the hand that feeds you.
Yes.
Don't bite it.
Do not tell a man
who is carrying you that he stinks.
That he stinks.
Even if he does.
Well,
My friend.
Lakini if it's too much, mwambie ndio ushuke.
Nyewe tu to the shuke. Sana for the ride.
Shukisha hapa.
I'm good.
Shukisha hapa. Where? Haya, thank you very much, City. Have you heard about the Standard Insider? If you haven't, you should hear about the Standard Insider, and this is what I'm going to tell you about it. Ndu,
Yes?
please, tell them what I was about to tell them about the Standard Insider.
Just tell them, please.
The Standard Insider is premium content from the Standard Media Group. So all this content that we have, we've got a publication, the Standard newspaper, we've got the TV stations, we've got the radio stations, we've got digital platforms. Now, all of them are available on www.standardmedia.co.ke. And what's good about the Standard Insider is that it gives you content the way you want to be served your content. Content that matters to you according to your own needs. So to get the Standard Insider, which is deep, incisive content, what you need to do is subscribe to it for 199 bob a month, and you save 100 shillings. www.standardmedia.co.ke. What's on the front pages of the newspapers?
Okay, so quite a number of things happening in the world of education, but we'll look at that in a minute. On the front page of the Standard, Raila's big gamble. Today, the opposition chief sets out to pick himself up after the August electoral setback. As the government scurries to formalise his role, the planned rallies present as many risks as opportunities and may prove to be another turning point. A question on the Standard is, so who killed Tob Cohen? After 3 years of uncertainty over her fate, the widow of murdered Dutch tycoon Tob Cohen has been freed. As DPP Haji seeks an inquest, the question remains, who killed him? Morocco stunned Spain to storm into quarters. That was the riveting match to watch indeed. And peace. Uhuru strikes deal with DRC and the rebels in fine form, former President Uhuru Kenyatta. On the front page of the Standard, boarding school shock for parents. It was a coming, and here it is. The ban starts next year in a move that caught families unawares. The government yesterday slapped a ban on registration of new boarding schools for children in grade 1 to 9 and any form of boarding for junior secondary school. Children from pastoralist communities will be, however, exempt from the new rules. We'll look at that in a bit. Kenya seeks 92 billion shillings. Treasury is in talks with the World Bank for a loan to be secured by June. And judges strike a blow for gender balance at the Supreme Court. That should be interesting to look at. And Raila starts 30 days of defiance. On the back page of The Nation, Mao Summit Road project gets boost as the World Bank pledges support. The project will see the existing 175 kms of the A8 road from Rironi to Mao Summit upgraded for a 4-lane carriageway.
All right. That deal struck with the Italians. It's a French. It's going to come to pass. What's on the front pages of The Star and the Business Daily?
Right. Sita. Litmus test for Raila as anti-Ruto rallies begin. Okay, that is front with picture, bang in the middle of the paper. That is The Star. Then at the top, primary boarding schools to be abolished from next year. All right? Okay. Now, Business Daily.
Yes.
World Bank faults Uhuru's growth for helping the rich.
Sorry?
Yes. My sentiments exactly.
Your sorry was the same.
Yes, my sorry was equal. Okay. World Bank faults Uhuru's growth for helping the rich. World Bank says Kenya's growth has stopped being pro-poor. Gap between rich and poor unchanged since 2015. That's what the World Bank says, according to this particular article.
Okay.
All right?
So there's growth, but the growth was concentrated at the top.
That is what they're saying.
All right.
And the top has very few people. That's the point. Okay, so very few people got rich.
So World Bank says bottom up is the way.
Yes, and they're saying that, you see, it makes sense that those who are poor just remained poor. Okay, so anyone who's saying that they got poorer may have to find new statistics. They just remained poor.
They remained poor.
But the rich got richer. Okay. Then lower down, they say suppliers turn to CRB checks for vetting retailers.
Where? Hey, ever go again?
Suppliers turn to CRB checks for vetting retailers.
So even retailers are on CRB.
Well, if you have at any point in time borrowed money and you didn't pay, you see, you are on CRB anyway, just so that people understand.
Even if you paid.
Yes. The issue is not on being on CRB. It's being on CRB adversely.
Yes.
Yes. CRB is meant not just to be punitive. It's meant to show that this is somebody who, when they borrow, they pay. It gives a good record of... The only problem is I don't know how people benefit from the good records. I don't know. But I know how you don't benefit if your record is not good.
Okay.
Yes.
You'll tell us more about that. So let's take this quick break. Kiatu yako ikoaje after kiwiing?
Ina shine kabisa. Nime step up, nime shine.
Step up and shine.
Hata nimepewa credit. You're still, I would not let that story go. The way I got credit.
You went into a supermarket. You bought kiwi.
The big one.
The big one. It is not 80 grams, it's 100 grams.
Yes, please.
Damn.
100 ml. 80 grams. No, the bigger.
Grams.
Yes, this one.
It's in
80 grams, it's 100 ml.
Okay. You bought that one?
Yes.
This one?
Ndio.
Indio kubwa.
Is that one bigger than mine? It's the same size.
Okay.
Okay, so nika scratch, nikatuma. Nikapata credit ya 100. Nikaingia kwenye draw. How do you say draw in Kiswahili? Draw. Nikaingia kwenye draw. The likelihood of me getting 35,000 shillings, now the days have become 97. In the 97 days of January, to pay school fees, very high. Because I went, I stepped up, I shone. And I bought kiwi, I got credit, I got into the draw. It could be me next week.
You're
going to be
waiting
36
for the
of
next
us.
draw.
There are going to be 36 of us.
And now there's not going to be boarding.
No boarding. Literally, we are not boarding.
27-7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is 00 Direct, woman host, music by women, and only women guests.
If COVID could mutate and evolve 6 times over the last 2 years, how many versions of yourself have emerged in the last 2 years? Do not, and you don't have to give anything to get ahead. All you have to do is give out and show out your talent.
Catch 00 Direct every Saturday from 10 a.m. on SpiceFM.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
This is one of the best ways to spend a Saturday.
Okay, so we're looking at traffic building up in different parts of the city this morning. On Jogoo Road, it's pretty heavy. I told you, Landis Road, for the next 20 days like this, in and outbound traffic is going to be madness. So if you're trying to get on and off of Landis Road, you need to do it early because through the day until, whenever, it's going to be cray. James Gishoro looks good getting out of that, as well as Ring Road Westlands. You might want to think about that right now. On the Thika Superhighway, traffic is just starting to build up as you're approaching Pangani and then getting out towards Murang'a Road. On Mombasa Road, heads up, folks. If you're coming from Imaradaima and you're saying, okay, if you're coming off Mombasa Road, you've passed Imaradaima, you're saying, I want to enter into Imaradaima, and you want to take that turn at General Motors. Sorry. As from yesterday...
It doesn't exist. Well said.
As from yesterday, it's not going to happen because they've blocked it off. They blocked off the other side the other day. Now, inbound has been blocked off as well. So think about another way to get to Imaradaima. All the way down and then turn. That's what's happening. It's going to cause traffic. Be ready for that. We'll take a look at what else is going on in the city and other parts of the country. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, tell us about that story.
Okay, let me tell you. Now, remember how there have been murmurings and rumblings about whether or not we will board in junior secondary? Well, those are the questions and they still remain. However, there is that it came out yesterday. 5%, less than 5% of primary schools have boarding facilities. According to the government, doing away with boarding schools will make education affordable. So it has come out that is the move that's going to be, okay, this Kiwi thing wants me to step up and shine by force. Let me just move it a little bit. New Year shocker for parents as PS outlaws boarding. The Ministry of Education will abolish boarding school for grades 1 to 9 from next year in a move that coming just 6 weeks to the reopening of schools has caught many parents flat-footed. Announcing the hugely significant policy shift, the Principal Secretary for Basic Education, Dr. Belio Kipsang, said the learners need to be close to their parents and guardians. This comes as a shocker for parents whose children are already enrolled in boarding schools, but the move was praised by head teachers who insisted parents must take up the responsibility of raising their children. The real reason we want to do away with boarding schools is to make education affordable. On average, parents pay up to 45,000 shillings per year in extra county schools and up to 53,000 shillings in national schools. It is even higher in private schools. He said less than 5% of public primary schools have boarding facilities. Speaking during the official opening of the Kenya Primary Schools Head Teachers Association meeting at Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Primary School in Mombasa, the PS said the government prefers day schooling for junior secondary. The policy shift is one recommendation made by the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms and presented to President William Ruto last Thursday. The president announced that in secondary school will be domiciled in primary school, a departure from earlier plans to have it in secondary. The government will also not allow private schools to register boarding sections for junior secondary school. Do you understand that before this announcement, primary schools had started construction of boarding houses because they wanted to be able to onboard junior secondary? Are we getting it?
Yep.
Government has come and said it's not going to happen. Junior secondary will not board. Primary schools will not board.
Okay. However, who's written that story? That's in which paper?
This is The Nation. It's written by Winnie Atieno in The Nation.
Okay. What I heard Belio Kipsang saying is phasing out. This one sounds like he's saying, come January, if you have a boarding, you're not boarding.
It doesn't sound like it. It says there's a total ban. According to this story, it's a total ban.
Is that the story in The Nation?
Yes.
Then it differs slightly.
With the one in the Star.
It differs very much with what we actually saw on some parts of socials yesterday, saying that it's going to be phased out. But this is saying that it's and it's quoted. If I can just tell you that. The reason we want this is according to the PS. The reason we want to do away with boarding schools is to make education affordable. And goes on to talk about the numbers. He said that less than 5%, the policy shift is one of the recommendations made by the Presidential Working Party. Dr. Kipsang went on to say, we must work together to make learners acquire good values. It's the only way we shall be able to engage with our children. For the first 9 years of learning between grades 1 and 9, the government will insist on day schooling. He added that this will allow parents to play their role with the competency-based curriculum and not delegate their responsibility to teachers. It was read on his behalf at the conference. It was read on behalf of Dr. Ruto by Dr. Kipsang. And he says he will ensure access to education for all by partnering with stakeholders to build low-cost boarding schools in arid and semi-arid areas, which brings in the conversation to say that only pastoralist communities then will be exempted from this new directive. Please.
What's in the Star?
No boarding schools for pupils in grade 1 to 9, parents told. Basic Education PS says guardians have responsibility as first educators. Okay. The government has announced that all students in grade 1 up to 9 will be day schooling beginning next year. Okay. It says the government is working towards constructing additional classrooms in primary schools to ease the burden of congestion and also ensure 100% transition is realized in the country. We are aware that about 1 million schoolgirls miss about 4 days of school due to menstruation. The government shall provide free sanitary towels. This story is a bit tired. I'm not reading it. That one we've heard before. It doesn't work.
So the headline is about boarding, and we've already gone into paragraph 3. We've gone into other things.
Yes. Because they're talking about boarding, and it was a whole conversation about we're going to do this. And yet, if you look at that same Nation and the story that they're talking, the story on that page and the one next to it, the number of students who are not able or were not able to go to school because of the problems we've had. Okay? Boarding is not a problem per se. There are other problems. Just the fundamentals of children being able to access education is a huge problem. Whether it is because of drought, whether it is because of COVID, whatever the reason is. So now you bring in the story of boarding schools. in my opinion, what you've done is you've thrown the cat among the pigeons. Okay? We haven't even straightened out this issue of standard 8, 9, 10, day school, secondary school, what? Okay, we've understood it.
Yeah.
Now you brought in boarding. But before all this, children have not been able to go to school for one reason or the other. How are we resolving that one?
Like you said, boarding is just a very small percentage, especially in primary schools.
Yes.
A majority of public primary schools are day schools.
They're day schools, yes.
Only a majority of private primary schools are boarding.
Yes.
So I've not heard, like he said, come January, no boarding. I heard, like you were saying, we are phasing out boarding. And this is in primary level and junior secondary level. That's up to grade 9.
Yes.
Then the rest, you can go into boarding, into senior secondary.
Senior second. So if we look at some of the rumblings that were made, even before this working party was established, even before this whole hullabaloo about how we're going to have reforms in the education sector, that the boarding issue, Julius Joan talked about it.
It was about the age.
Yeah, exactly. It was about the age. However, they were still having this conversation about, can we get to the point where we're phasing out boarding and see if we can have children then going to schools within their community. That was it. Because we want to bring in this whole thing of not delegating responsibility wholly to teachers. The conversation had started happening. Now, I hear you, because I don't know that Dr. Kipsang necessarily said that there will be a total ban come January. But we will hear the rumblings. It would leave a lot of people flat-footed. That there were those who've enrolled their children for work or other things. It only makes sense for their children to go to school and board at the same time. But if we're talking about then standard 8's boarding, it's not going to happen. If we're talking about junior secondary, that's from grade 6, 7, from 7, 8, and 9, not boarding, and those who planned on it come January, it's going to be quite tricky. And I think we will get clarity. Far be it from Dr. Kipsang to not be clear about some of the things that he has said. I think we will get clarity in the coming days about what's going to happen. Because in as much as the holiday is long, January is not far away. And that will be made very clear. If there will be no boarding at schools from 1 to 9, we will know. And we will know soon.
But this conversation, if you read on, even in The Nation as well as The Star, they then dovetail and start talking about responsibility of bringing up children, and they want to make sure their parents bring up children. There are very many conversations in this one conversation. Now, we are talking about ensuring that school-age-going children in those classes get the education.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. How exactly are the boarding schools interfering with their learning? How exactly is this a problem? How exactly? So that we now talk about abolishing it, doing away with it. It's maybe a reporting issue that the people who are reporting are not being very clear. How are we resolving the problem so that we ensure that the 2 million children who are out of schools, okay, due to drought, manage to get back to school? Okay, according to this same article in The Nation, they say only 5% of public primary schools that have boarding facilities. 5%. So, what exactly are we saying?
Who knows, Buena?
Huh? Why is this storm in a teacup even a storm to begin with? Why doesn't the tea just remain in the cup and remain tea in a cup?
I have a sense that, a lot of these things, I even got a feeling that preliminary report by the Working Committee, Presidential...
Working Party, please.
Working Group Commission.
School education was heavily influenced by the private sector. Even that whole thing of saying, okay, let this thing happen in primary schools, let them continue in primary school. If you just imagine imagine the primary schools that are there in Muhoroni, the number of primary schools versus the number of secondary schools. When you say that these primary schools, these kids who are now going to junior secondary are going to start sharing facilities with their nearby secondary schools when it comes to labs, what are you talking about? Because the government spent 10 billion shillings in the last 8 months constructing classrooms, not labs. So there are no labs in primary schools.
No.
There aren't. And we're saying you're going to domicile lower secondary, where these subjects begin.
Yes.
and there are no
at the
facilities.
primary schools where there are no facilities.
This clarity that has been sought is bringing a lot more confusion than clarity, if you ask me.
Aye.
It's a convoluted conversation. You start off with one thing, you delve into another, then you delve into another, then you delve into another. Now, I'm sure parents, but the January is just next door.
That's what I'm telling you. Don't think it's far. By the time it's Christmas, that's January.
By the time it's Christmas, January is with us.
It's here.
It's here.
And
People
decisions have to be
plans.
made now.
People have made... Look, it's not everybody who waits until last moment to get things done. There are
No.
actually people who get it done before.
Yep. The people who plan well in advance.
So, let me tell you about what President William Ruto is telling his Kenya Kwanza brigades. He is urging leaders elected under Kenya Kwanza to support efforts to reintroduce the office of the official leader of the opposition. According to MPs who spoke to the Standard, the president, during a Kenya Kwanza caucus on Monday, announced that his administration will sponsor amendments of various laws to, among other things, create the office of a strong opposition leader. Kangema MP Peter Kehungi said the president was keen to have a firm opposition to put his government in check. He mobilizes to support the motion, which may be presented to the National Assembly tomorrow, Thursday. According to Kehungi, Ruto was emphatic that whoever comes second in a presidential election had a huge following behind him and needed an office where his supporters can find him to discuss various issues affecting them. Another MP who did not wish to be named said although the office of the opposition leader was not being tailor-made for Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga, the president appeared to appreciate that the ODM leader cannot be wished away. He seemed to appreciate that he narrowly defeated his main opponent, of course without saying it, and that's why he summoned us to support the initiative. But he maintains that the office is not specifically for Raila, but for the purposes of today and in the future. It was a closed-door meeting of Kenya Kwanza MPs in Nairobi. Earlier, the DP, Rigathi Gachagua, had opened the Kenya Kwanza National Assembly Conference on legislative matters. During the caucus, Gachagua moved to quell the bad blood between Mount Kenya region MPs and those from Rift Valley, especially after those from the Rift joined hands with the opposition to threaten an ouster motion against Moses Kuria, who read the Riot Act and instructed to issue press briefings as a ruling party without involving the opposition. So this and the others. We had a conversation here with Peter Kagwanja, professor, yesterday, and he was talking about the same thing. Now, for us to have the office of official opposition leader, blah, 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 there may be changes to amendments to the Constitution. A Constitution Amendment Bill cannot just be brought for one purpose.
Nope.
Okay?
Never is. Omnibus.
So what else?
What else
is going to come with this?
Yes. Because this is what is fronting it.
Yeah.
But there are other things that are going to come with it.
Yep.
For sure.
What else is going to come with this? And then if you look at the Azimio Brigade is starting their rallies today at Kamukunji. Their main focus is on the Cherera 4, who are now 2. The other 2 have decided to
Cherera 4 minus 2.
Yes, to leave. Maybe by the time they get to Kamukunji, it will be Cherera 1.
It's possible.
Only Masit. So, what exactly, like you're asking yesterday, what is the ask? What is it that Azimio is asking?
What are they asking, really?
Because if they say they're coming to consult with the people, and they had a press conference yesterday where they talked about very many things, amendments to the IEBC Act, Cherera form being moved, this and the other. What exactly is the agenda, and what's the ask? Is this among them? Are they going to talk about this proposed constitutional amendment to create the office of the leader of the official opposition?
You know, all will become clear in the full passage of time. But what I do know is this, those who were going hungry last week are still going hungry this week.
Indeed.
Yep.
Children who didn't go to school last week haven't gone to school this week. People who were poor last week are still poor this week. So, all these things are needful, but right now there's an immediacy that isn't being talked about. And even if it's talked about in whispers, it isn't being dealt with conclusively, because then we would know. So even as we talk about all these wonderful things that we want to do, can we prioritize and ensure the least common denominator among us as citizens of this country, that their interests are looked after, because it is a problem. Our country as it is isn't judged by those who seem to be doing well, but by the majority who are definitely doing completely badly, whose existence is dismal.
Yeah.
So that conversation, in my mind, is what ought to have taken center stage. Not the drama that we keep hearing, this is going here, this is being set up. No. All these things do not make any sense if there are people going hungry in a country where there is plenty. It does not make sense if children cannot go to school simply because someone who is in a decision-making position hasn't done what needs to be done to ensure their safety and to ensure that they actually go to school.
Anyway, tell us that story that you were telling us about.
Let me look. It was in the Business Daily. Okay. Economic policies pursued in the later years of President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration helped benefit wealthy Kenyans the most, the World Bank disclosed yesterday. The bank, in the report capturing Kenya's economic health, reckons that the gap between the rich and the poor is unchanged from 2015, adding that it narrowed between 2005 and 2015. I will not comment, I'm just going to read. It says the structure of Kenya's economy has lately failed to lift millions from poverty, turning the spotlight on the Kenyatta regime. Kenya has delivered average economic growth for more than 5% in the past decade. Though economic growth contributed significantly to, and I've turned the page, poverty reduction in Kenya, growth has become less pro-poor in recent years, the World Bank report says. Robust GDP per capita growth since 2005, along with growth in private consumption, saw the share of the population living below the international poverty line fall of 43.9% to 43.9% to 33.4%, 2015 to 2019. Okay.
So therefore...
So World Bank has spoken.
So
World Bank is basically saying bottom up.
World Bank is actually saying
top down has not worked.
You know, the problem is nobody ever says top down. They all say bottom up.
It was top.
They will argue and give the impression that every policy that is being made, the exorbitantly priced roads are for the benefit of the mwananchi. Everything is for the benefit of the mwananchi. And the real consequence of these actions are definitely not for the benefit of the mwananchi, because the mwananchi suffers. And just when you think it is safe, a new government will come in, as this one has come in, and introduce new taxes, just when you thought that everything that could be taxed was taxed.
Mambo mingi.
Mambo ni nyingi.
Do you tell us a story?
Okay, sasa wacha nikwambie. Who killed Tob Cohen is what people are now asking. Now that you freed the main suspect and you said that you had enough information or rather evidence to point to her maybe having a hand in all of this, the question then remains, so then who murdered the man? Because the circumstances under which he was found obviously prove that he did not put himself in the septic tank. So now the inquest that is now being suggested by DPP Nurdin Haji, questions arise as to whether this will answer. Long wait to know Cohen's murderers as the case has been withdrawn. The mystery behind the killing of Dutch businessman Tob Cohen will take longer to resolve after the High Court withdrew murder charges against his widow, Sarah Wairimo. Cohen's death in September 2019 shocked the country when his decomposing body was retrieved from a septic tank at their Kitisuru home in Nairobi. The then Director of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti, said they will go all the way to nail the killers. Kinoti's promise served as a solace to Cohen's family, who travelled from the Netherlands only to witness the controversy that followed his death and delayed his burial. The family's 3-year wait for justice for the murder of Cohen will take longer following the decision by Justice Daniel Ogembo to allow an application by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji, to withdraw the murder case and refer it to a public inquest. It is important that Cohen's death in September 2019 be subjected to public inquest to investigate the inconsistencies and contradictory statements by the investigating officers. That is key. before a decision is made whether to continue with the murder case. So they're saying that there are inconsistencies and contradictory statements coming from the people who were investigating this murder, being the investigative officers. The ex-DCI's push to punish the two suspects in the murder of Cohen failing to take off, his relatives will now hang on the findings of a public inquest to be instituted by the DPP. It's not the first of one that we've seen. We've seen quite a number of these. I believe the late, the daughter of now Senator Tabitha also has been subjected to public inquest. Things like that happen to find out as to what really happened. But the question remains, even as it goes to public inquest, should this then go back to trial? The question still remains, who killed him? The evidence that you had gathered up until this point was pointing greatly at somebody. But then now you say we don't have enough. And the contradictory statements, let's withdraw this case and subject it to public inquest. Is it enough?
The widow says she knows who killed her husband.
So she should open her mouth and talk now.
And she says if an inquest is set up, that's where she
will say it.
She'll spill the beans.
By the way, that story has a twist to it. If you look at the Business Daily, their headline for this particular story is Cohen widow suffers blow in bid to recover 400 million shilling house and Porsche. Okay, they say the widow of murdered Dutch tycoon Top Cohen has suffered a setback after the High Court failed to order the state to return her matrimonial home following a withdrawal of a case in which she was accused of killing the businessman. Sarah Wairimu wanted Justice Daniel Ogembo to direct the security agencies to vacate the 400 million shilling home situated in Lower Kabete back to her. She also wanted her car, a Porsche Cayenne, and her pet dog, which is being kept by the Kenyan Society for Protection and Care of Animals, KSPCA, in Karen. Her lawyer, Philip Murgor, also wanted the court ordered that an inventory of the matrimonial home be taken to avoid theft and vandalism.
So the judge said, no, you can't get the home.
You're off the hook, but
home
house,
stays with
dog, car, not being given back to you.
Until when? If there's no case.
This court is not convinced by victims that DPP exercises powers in bad faith, and the objections raised do not merit and are dismissed. I allow the not to prosecute the accused persons are accordingly discharged, said the judge. That is now what Justice Ogembo said. That's it. But remember, in addition to the accusation, house, not yours, car, hivyo.
But basically, they were just being barred from accessing it because it was a crime scene.
Yes.
Now, there's no longer a case.
Yes, but the court hasn't spoken on it. That's it. The court has to speak on it. Just like they spoke about it in the first place, they now have to unspeak it. They have
to speak of it again.
Yes, they have not unspoken this one.
Yeah.
The charges, they have spoken.
But this other one, nothing.
No, please.
No, they haven't.
Sheesh.
All right. In the next hour, we have a conversation about the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Keep it here for that. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The government will provide the Azimio Alliance with security ahead of the rally at Kemkunji grounds today and next week Monday. Interior CS Kithure Kindiki says that they've made plans to ensure security officers are deployed to provide safety for those who will be present at the rallies.
In our culture as a democracy, we are not interested as the ministry responsible for our national security to interrupt the freedoms that are supposed to be enjoyed by the people of Kenya, because doing so would undermine our constitutional order, and we will not be part of any program or effort to undermine our constitution. In that regard, the Ministry of Interior is making all the necessary security arrangements to ensure these, our fellow Kenyans, can exercise their right to associate, to demonstrate, to protest, or to make their grievances known to whatever authorities whatsoever.
Now, even after Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza gave 70 apologies to the county MCAs, Assembly Minority Whip Dennis Kiogora has tabled a second motion of impeachment against her. Kiogora will now prosecute the motion within the next 7 days. The governor is accused of nepotism, illegal appointments and unlawful dismissals.
To order the adjournment date of its first session on the approved first session calendar of the Third Assembly from 9th December 2022 to Wednesday 21st December 2022. Will as many of a similar opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it and the motion is passed.
Now, leading candidates in the Bungoma by-election made their final campaign pitches before the by-election. All political parties ended their campaigns by 6 p.m. yesterday as the 2-month rigorous process officially came to an end. Speaker Moses Wetangula led several leaders drawn from Western region to traverse the county on a vote-hunting mission for the Ford Kenya Party candidate Mwalimu David Wakoli Wafula. Wafula, a former youth leader in Bungoma, said he is ready to serve the people of Bungoma.
Huyu kijana amekuwa manager wa ofisi ya senator kwa miaka 10. Hakuna hata warning letter peke yake nimeshamwandikia kwamba hajafanya kitu mzuri.
Mtoto ambaye hajawahi pewa nafasi Kenya hii akae kwa meza ya wateule ili alete rasilimali kwa watu wa Bungoma. Tarehe 8 mwezi wa Disemba, mnikumbuke. Mimi na Mungu wangu na moyo wangu, I will not let you down. I will stand with you. I will walk with you. I will defend you. I will run with you because my people are your people. Where you go, I will go.
And former Bumula MP Mwambu Mabong of the UDA party expressed his optimism that he will emerge the winner of the by-election and that he will deliver for the area locals.
Huyo kijana yangu wa Munyinyi si mbaya, lakini wacha akae nyumbani akule kidogo pension yake. Ameshatosha pension. Na yule mwingine aongoje kidogo akue MCA labda kidogo, lakini saa hii tunataka yule mtu mjamaa ambaye ameshakomaa. Uweze kuchukua kuni mbichi ukaweka kwa jikoni.
Watu wa Bungoma, mimi naomba wajitokeze mapema asubuhi, wapige kura, waamue kiongozi wao ni nani, na mimi naomba kura yao kwa unyenyekevu.
And here is Azimio candidate of Fula Munyinyi on its final pitches to the people of Bungoma.
And Kenya Kwanza cannot oversight Kenya Kwanza. That is why we need mtu wa Azimio, mtu wa nguvu kama wa Munyinyi to go and oversight serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ya hapa Bungoma na serikali ya Ruto ile imedanganya mahustlers na watu wa Kenya.
Tunahitaji senator ule ataenda kuuliza William Ruto, wewe uliahidi gharama ya maisha itarudi chini. Tutajumuisha bodaboda kwa serikali, mama mboga kwa serikali, yani watu wa chini. Iko watu wa chini kwa hii serikali.
Now, more than 3.5 million Kenyan children will miss school in January due to the ongoing drought. A report by the Save the Children has revealed that as the hunger crisis worsens, children have been forced to drop out of school to assist their parents in search of water and pasture. The report further states that this number is expected to increase by 1.6 million. This even comes as the cabinet has disbursed over 17 million shillings towards the drought situation in the country. And the controversy surrounding the death of baby Travis Minor has taken a new twist. Kenyatta National Hospital says the 2-year-old who had a forked jembe lodged in his head could have been a victim of a fight involving his parents. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Alceto. Good morning.
The Spice Newswire is brought to you by Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. Go ahead and get yours today. It's your time.
It's building up on the Thika Superhighway, and we're looking at traffic coming well into the city. It's going to take you through towards Pangani. That started early. Kiambu Road is also doing the thing this morning. And whatever was going on in Limuru, guess what? It's happening again today. Folks are trying to run away from what could be traffic in Westlands. And then you get into Kitisuru, out towards Red Hill, etc., etc., etc. King and I. Okay, so also looking at traffic coming into the CBD, Landis Road, we know is going to be busy for the next, 30 days. And in and outbound traffic will continue to be a thing. So if you're going towards Landis, you might want to give that a quick think. Yes, I know General Motors is an absolute mess this morning. I don't know if it still exists because both sides have been closed off, and that's that tunnel under the expressway. So we cannot use that. So you're just going to have to go all the way down. If you're coming off Mombasa Road and you're going towards Imaradama, you're going to have to go all the way down to the turn at Airtel and then make your way back up. That's what it looks like for this morning. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Keep things moving this morning. Let us know where you are.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning and welcome to the second hour of The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. 7th day of December 2022. How many days until you start singing that song of yours? 5 more days.
On the 5th day, we start singing. From today. You get it?
So you start on Jamhuri Day.
That's right. Many things are happening on Jamhuri Day, including the singing of this song.
Jamhuri Day, tunaenda Jacaranda, tunaenda
kuimba.
wapi, tunaanza kuimba.
Alafu ni January.
Hi. And then January comes.
How many days does January have?
96.
Okay, fine. Days, yeah?
96 days of January.
That's excluding the weekends.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And that's when you're hoping that because you bought a black tub of kiwi shoe polish, you'll step up and shine.
Mimi, school fees, 35,000 inside.
Tell us about that.
You know what I did?
Uh-huh.
I said I went to the supermarket, of course, to do other things, and I walked past, and I said, you know what? I've been talking about this kiwi story, and I know I'm going to need it anyway. So I went and I bought a tin of kiwi. This one, the 100 ml or the 80 grams. And then I said, okay, they said that if we buy and we send the code under the lid to this number, we'll get airtime. Says, okay, let's see if these people have been taking us for a ride. *459 *5 hash. Mimi, 100 shillings airtime. Where? Inside.
Same moment.
There. And I did what? I called City's cousin. And we spoke.
And then they told you that you've entered the...
Then I got a message.
So kona OB number.
Yeah. I said, they told me you have been entered for the draw. Save this number as reference for a chance.
So they gave you an
win.
OB number?
Yes. For a chance to win 35,000 shillings school fees in January. I'm one of the 36. I speak in faith and I manifest this. You know those things they say of manifesting?
When you enter once and then you are in the draw for the subsequent week, are you in the draw for all the subsequent weeks or in that first?
That week.
That week.
So my week is not over yet. I could be. It's tomorrow. Is day after tomorrow is Friday.
So in that one draw,
you people should stand in solidarity.
So
with
then
me.
next week now we buy another one.
That's it.
It can work.
It's me who buys now the next one. The school fees. Ukishinda
Utanipea.
hivi.
Let's just agree.
What happens if I buy 2 tins?
You stagger them, City. You get 2 chances.
Yes.
It's true.
And you get 200 bob worth of airtime.
It could be more. So it could be more airtime. It's just that I happen to get 100.
So instead of...
so the 100 is...
It's just what I got.
Random. It could even be...
It could be more or less.
So instead of calling my cousin, I can call my cousin myself.
By yourself.
Can do that for your own self.
Yes. My cousin is mine.
All right. Take us to West Africa.
Actually, I'm going to do one better. Instead of just taking you to West Africa, I'm going to do 2 things. One, I'm going to read the proverb from my Samsung Galaxy
Not yours,
S8 Ultra, mine, personally. But I'm going to read a proverb in English, then I'm going to read it in Creole. So that our brother in Sierra Leone can be happy. Okay, kabisa. You can't blow your nose and whistle at the same time.
Wait a minute.
That is the proverb.
No.
I've changed. Yes.
No.
Folks, you need to relax. You need to relax.
Was it yesterday?
Take a deep breath.
Tomorrow?
Take a deep breath. Thank you
So
very much.
due to public demand, the
This is
proverb
due
has
to
changed.
public demand from Sierra Leone.
The proverb has changed.
Yeah, the proverb has changed.
Okay.
So because it comes with the requisite interpretation in
Creole.
Creole.
You can't blow your nose and whistle at the same time. That's a proverb. Okay? If you think I'm lying, try. Just try. All right. In Creole. You no go blow nose and wishful.
At the end, what?
Wishful. It's written wish as a sh, then ul. So wishful. So, have I not spoken Creole? You no go blow nose and wishful. If you can't speak Creole, it's not my problem, it is your problem.
So whistling is whistling. In Creole. You know, go blow nose and whistle.
Spoken Creole.
Bas. Whistle. Stew. All right, so we have two guests who are joining us in the studio today. We have been commemorating the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, and we shall continue until, well, Friday is our final day here, because that's the final day of the Situation Room. But the day ends on Saturday. The guests are Gilbert Mitula Omware, who is a pro bono lawyer, an academic consultant in human rights, criminal justice, and legal research, and very many other things. Tell us about them, but let's just go with those ones first. Wishu. And Ivy Werimba is a communications and advocacy officer at Gulf Plus. Karibuni sana. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
Ivy, at your communications and advocacy officer, we understand this one of Gilbert. He's a lawyer, works pro bono, that is, he does stuff for free.
Yes.
He's an academic, sour. He's a consultant in human rights, sour. Criminal justice and legal research, sour. You are a communication and advocacy officer, sour. But Gulk Plus, what's that?
So Gulk Plus is a membership organization based in Nairobi, and our mandate is to work with LGBTQ plus organizations and individuals across the country. So we have 17 member organizations scattered across the country, all of them working in different thematic areas. So this is around sexual and reproductive health rights. This is around HIV organizing. This is around mental health awareness, safety and security for LGBTQ plus folk, legal aid, and so many other things. So as Gulk Plus, as the coalition, we are mainly a coordination body. We don't exactly implement because our member organizations do this.
Implement what?
Implement the work that I quickly spoke about within the different thematic areas.
For the LGBTQ plus
folk. Yes.
In Kenya.
In Kenya.
Wakili, a quick one.
Yes.
LGBTQ. Is that legal in Kenya?
I think the question of whether a person is legal or not is debated across the world, isn't it? What makes you legal or illegal? But if we are directing your question to what the issue is what is criminalized in Kenya, rather. What is criminalized is sex against the natural or the order of nature, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that might span a lot of things that don't really go to your sexual orientation, your gender identity, sex characteristics, and so all of that. It could be for everyone what sex against the order of nature is.
Okay.
Right? So people are not criminalized and cannot be illegal, whether they are immigrants or whether they are members of a particular minority. They can't be illegal people because they exist and have rights. But the question is around how they identify themselves, how they form community, how they exist, the ways in which they work, the ways in which people try to move on with their lives are what is targeted and what is generally then under attack in various ways.
So when you talk about LGBTQ,
yes,
is it about people's sexuality or people's identity in organizing in various ways? What is it?
I think to exist is to be many things in many places in various ways. And so to be able to limit somebody's existence to their sexual orientation is really to limit them into just that. When they are family members, they are employees, business owners, there are various other things. And so I think it's very, very difficult to then start talking about a person's existence limited to just one narrow thing. Which is
so let me
sexual
ask the question a
orientation.
different way.
Yes.
When somebody identifies as folk in
Yes.
LGBTQ plus,
Yes.
what is it that they're identifying? Is it their sexual orientation? Or is it their dressing style? Or is it their career? Or is it their community? Is it their tribe? Is it their clan? What is it?
So, if you look at what we call SOGIESC, isn't it? It's an acronym. SOGIESC is sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, and sex characteristics. Then that now goes into the whole spectrum of what LGBTQI plus is. For example, if we look at sexual orientation, somebody would fall as, for example, and not being comprehensive, gay, lesbian, whatever else may come up, right?
Yep.
Then your gender identity, right? That is, for
Male,
example,
female.
Well, it's non-binary as well also exists, isn't it? Or gender non-conforming also exists in that person.
Does it?
It does, and we know people who are gender non-conforming.
Okay.
Yes, and who use the pronouns they, them, or other pronouns that may not necessarily exist in the English language, because this is a person who is identifying their gender identity not to fit into male or female, and that's, of course, where issues around trans people comes up. So we've talked about sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. So, of course, then there are people who, like me, I'm in a suit today, I wear a beard, I have my hair as it is, but my expression may be very different. For example, I may choose to have a beard but still wear lipstick and makeup and wear a dress and so that. So that's just how I express myself in terms of my gender, and so I may want to express my gender in different ways. And then comes the question of sex characteristics, which is where intersex people come in terms of their physical organs and what they have, which is, of course, something that not everyone can see, but still categorizes them in a way that may not fit into the larger spectrum of what people think is ordinary.
Okay, I do have a question.
Yeah.
If we are saying that the point is not to consider all the time the sexual orientation, or that the point is not the sexual orientation, we do spend quite a lot of time talking about the sexual orientation.
Who spends time?
Why? Because all of these explanations.
Even if you look at all these things,
these explanations that you've given here and
are
sex
sexual orientation.
characteristics.
Yeah.
If we're saying that the focus should not be, we spend a jolly good time talking about that particular focus. Why can't we talk about these other things? We spend a lot of time characterizing around the sexual part of it. How do we take the attention away from it if we spend a lot of time talking about it?
I think that's actually a question that Ivy and I were just talking about before we walked into the studio, which is the question of your identity and your existence and the full spectrum of being human. And that, for example, with the conversion practices research that we did, that you spend so much time trying to figure out who you are, how you exist, and your place in the world is, with so many barriers, that by the time you are getting to the point of exploring other things, then how do I work? How do I do well at work? Who am I in society? How do I contribute better? Unfortunately, the barriers to really getting to know and understand yourself, whether, for example, you identify yourself as a man, to understand your manhood, to understand what that means in society, and then the offshoot of that is then what are my contributions, what is my work, and all that. Because the barriers are there in understanding that, it takes such a long time to get to all of these other issues for very, very many people. That's why we spend time talking about it.
Are people who may not then associate with LGBTQ not going through the same journey, Ivy? That people are still on a journey to figure out who they are, and why then must we spend so much time trying to understand them? And this is everybody. This is everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's on this same journey, and this is my question: how about we just get to the work?
So I'd say everyone is actually going through the same journey. However you identify with regards to your gender, with regards to your sexuality, with regards to everything basically. We are at the end of the day human beings. And as human beings we are left to deal with who am I, what am I, what are my contributions to the society, what does the society say about me and how do I react to that and vice versa. So it means that we are all in the business of figuring out who we are. And so the reason why LGBTQ plus folk are as vocal or as they are is because they have an impediment which lies within the law, where one thing about yourself or a perception of who you are, say as a trans person, when you decide to fully express your gender finally, I present as a woman and so I dress up as a man. I fully express myself in that lens because that's who I feel I am. Immediately, there's backlash that comes from that. And immediately the thing that comes up is, why are you doing this? You caused this. You're asking for the trouble that's coming your way because you don't fit in the society, and on and on and on. So it means that we all are in the business of trying to figure out who are what, or how do women fit in the society? How do men, what role do men play in the society? And LGBTQ plus folk are also in the same business of trying to figure that out for themselves as well.
Ivy, I want to go back to that question. What has been criminalized in Kenya? Is it sexual activity or is it everything else? Is it expression? If I decided, okay, let's go with Gilbert and the example that he gave. You're wearing a beard. If you decided to wear lipstick in addition to the beard and put on, what are those other things, mascara and everything else, is that illegal? Or is that criminal?
It is not criminal, but it is still subject to violence, isn't it? Because it's about...
From law?
No, in law. Well...
So the law only criminalizes the activity?
The written law. Allow me to just be technical.
The written law
yes.
criminalizes the activity.
And
if you're
it
taken to
criminalizes
court,
activity for everyone, not just LGBTQI plus people.
Yes.
Yes.
For anyone who does sexual activity.
Sex against the order of nature.
Against the order of nature.
Yes. Or male persons. So because 162C of the Penal Code talks about sex against the order of nature. Then 163 talks about attempts. Then 165 goes into indecent acts between male persons and attempts of indecent acts between male persons, right? So that is very specific about male persons. It doesn't talk about their sexual orientation or gender identity.
Okay.
Or their SOGS, let me just use that. So the question is, if now my gender expression is that I wear a beard and I wear makeup and I wear a dress, is that criminalized? No, but you're still subjected to violence. The law doesn't. Of course, you will not be arrested for wearing lipstick as a man. Well, as somebody who identifies as male and who also looks the same, but so there's no arrest for that, but that doesn't mean you're safe or you're okay or things are fine moving on from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gender.
Yes.
If you decided that you want to identify as, well, you said you can identify as male, female, and then all those other pronouns, which you'll explain to us, I hope, because they're really
if
confusing.
We get the chance.
Yeah.
The law, again, does not criminalize that.
Yes. Well, let's talk about the case of Audrey Mbugua, right? And why Audrey Mbugua took her case to court. Audrey Mbugua, and the case that was presented was that this is a person who grew up with a male name, identifying as male, and so when they finished school, the certificates came up as male, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then transitioned and became Audrey.
Yeah.
After this person became Audrey, of course, they now have certificates that they have in their hand that indicate male, but the person who's in front of you is seemingly female. Right? Can that person get work if they applied for a job? If that person wanted a police clearance certificate or a certificate of good conduct, can they get it? Just the most basic things, a driver's license, an identity card. Can that person get it? Because if we go, for example, to the question of transitioning, right? There is social transitioning, there's legal transitioning, and there's physical transitioning.
Yeah.
We are now focusing ourselves on legal transitioning. How do you exist? Because the conversation we're trying to have here is not about who you identify as to yourself and how you operate
express
within yourself.
yourself.
That's your own personal work to
Okay.
do. The question is, what
the
do
law
other
recognize-
people now do about it, right?
Does the law recognize your new self?
Exactly. And what is the law? If we go into the questions of now jurisprudence and we start talking about what is the law, where does it come from, how does it become law, how does it continue to be law, how is it enforced, what does that mean for people who are subjected to it? Then we start asking ourselves, if the foundations of that law are challenging somebody else's existence, how then do they continue to live a healthy life, enjoying all their human rights and everything that accrues with it, right? So we have to be very clear on what we are saying is the law and what the law facilitates.
And what was the outcome of the Audrey case?
Oh, the Audrey case, I think it should be Honorable Justice Lenaula, who sits in the Supreme Court now, allowed for Audrey to then have all the certificates changed, because the issue was NEC, the Kenya National Examinations Council, was refusing to change the certificates. And it was not for any other reason than that this person cannot exist, and the judge agreed with Audrey.
The person who issued a certificate was male.
Yes.
The person who's registered for the exam
Yes.
and sat the exam
Yes.
was male.
Yes.
And we issued a certificate to male.
Yes.
This is the person we don't know.
Yes.
And Justice Lenaula said...
Justice Lenaula said that these certificates need to be changed so that Audrey gets the certificates in the way that...
What was the basis of him recognizing Audrey?
It was not about recognizing Audrey. It was about Audrey making an... Because you see, the issue for determination in that case was not about Audrey's recognition at all. It was about the administrative actions of Kenya National Examinations Council. Okay? And so the judge did not touch on anything to do with how Audrey identified.
So we don't have case law in Kenya on that?
On this particular
recognition
form of,
and
no.
identity?
The case law that we're having out of court right now is around registration and freedoms of association. We have, of course, major case law that's now in the Court of Appeal. And that case actually on registration, which is on NIGLHAC, the National Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission, is now in the Supreme Court for determination on whether they should be registered or not. Audrey registered an organization for trans people, and that matter went to court and they were allowed to be registered. The state didn't appeal it. We have, of course, the decriminalization case, DECRIM, which is now Civil Appeal 153 of 2019. It's in the Court of Appeal. So we are awaiting arguments and final determination.
Something I don't understand.
Yes.
So, what exactly is the beef? What is the problem?
Where? Please define. I want you to go and just tell me your question completely. Speak it completely.
Why is it that matters to do with LGBTQ, have I got it right?
Yeah.
Plus. Plus. Why is it that every time it comes up, it is emotional? It is a big issue.
Yes.
I'm asking, what is the issue? What do you people defend? What are you defending?
You see, that is a very bad question to me. Why? Because somebody comes and beats me and you ask me, why were you beaten? And I have to then start explaining the reasons and reasoning of a person who exercised violence on another person and speak for them. While what I'm supposed to be doing is looking for people who are going to be defending and taking care of me and protecting me.
Gilbert, no.
Yes.
The question is not why you were beaten.
No.
The question is why you are talking about being beaten. Well, you haven't been beaten yet.
You see...
Let me try and explain, because some of the work that we do is around safety and security, where you will find, again, your identity, your sexuality, or the perception of it immediately invites violence most of the time. So you walk into a room and you maybe present as male. And immediately the assumption is if your mannerisms look feminine, immediately there's a question that comes up. And as a person who has grown up in our society, you are highly aware of what's happening around you. And immediately you move into a protective mode where all of us are, want to self-preserve at the end of the day. So when you see that someone is coming towards you, immediately, however you interact with them will come from a very highly emotional place because you're looking to defend yourself at that point. Okay. Yeah.
You see, Gilbert, you went to... Yes?
Please allow me to take a break.
Please take a break.
Okay?
Yes.
Then now you can come back and continue the question.
Yes, I will.
Asante. Yes. It's 7:30. Gilbert Mitula Omware is a pro bono lawyer, academic consultant in human rights, criminal justice and legal research, and Ivy Werimba is a communications and advocacy officer at GALC+. We are talking about the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence and what's the view of the LGBTQ+ community in Kenya. Okay, let me tell you about Vipingo development. Are you thinking of owning a home, class, luxury, comfort? The Awali Estate and Kingswood Homes Villas are for you. From just 15.5 million shillings, you get to own an immaculately designed 3-bedroom plus DSQ villa located in Vipingo, Kilifi, developed by Centum Real Estate. Within the beautiful estate, you have a swimming pool, lush green parks, secure and designated play areas, playgrounds for your children, reliable water for the development, 3 million litre desalination plant just a kilometre from the Vipingo airstream, and many, many other things. You want to know more about this? Just SMS the word Vipingo to 22365. That's Vipingo to 22365. Or if you're too lazy to text, you can call 0740 400 215. 0740 400 215.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
3, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
The baridi ni degree ngapi hapo?
Hata sijui lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
Is the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys wenye walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Get ready to fall in love with the new Samsung Galaxy Buds 2 Pro, featuring intelligent 360 audio which makes the sound feel more realistic than ever before. Not only that, they can feature enhanced head tracking, making every movement stay in sync so you get an immersive experience. Designed to fit comfortably, the Samsung Galaxy Buds 2 Pro will also help you stay connected by automatically popping up on your Samsung Galaxy devices, and with just a tap, you can connect. As simple as that. Available in all select Samsung stores countrywide.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 17. We'll see highs of 26. We'll see highs of 27 in a sunny Nakuru this morning at 15, and it's cloudy at 14 in Nyeri, highs of 24. 25 will be the high in a sunny Eldoret at 14, and we'll see light rain now in Mombasa at 26, going to highs of 32. 31 will be the high in a partly sunny Malindi at 26, and it's sunny at 20 in Kisumu, going to highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 30 in a sunny Kakamega. It keeps raining in Kampala at 20, highs of 27, and it'll go to highs of 32 in a now rainy Dar es Salaam at 27. It's 13 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 32 in a mostly clear Lagos at 26. It's 23 and raining in Kinshasa. It'll go to highs of 29.
Spice up your life.
Coming off Mombasa Road, it's been a dream and not so much anymore. You're going to have to go further if you're trying to turn into Imara Diamond. You're coming off of Mombasa Road, so think about that as you're heading out. North Airport Road, then going towards Outer Ring, is also starting to clog up. Jogo Road, out towards Landis, starts really early. How many times can I say this? Well, let's say one more time, just for good measure. It will be crazy until the end of December. We know that for sure. Going out towards Landis. Lunga Lunga is also getting packed. And we're looking at Uhuru Highway, out through Nyayo Stadium and then into the city. There's traffic there. Coming out of Westlands, also doing the thing. State House Road, not looking too bad, at least not for this hour. It probably will pick up later. We'll be here to let you know what it looks like. Let us know what's happening in your neck of the woods. Let's keep things moving. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
With our guests Ivy Warimba and Gilbert Mitula Mware. City.
Yes.
Your question now.
My question. When people respond in a way that you consider either threatening or intimidating, do you think it's out of an understanding or is it due to a lack of understanding?
I'd say the latter. I'd say the lack of understanding, where you walk in with a perception, with an idea of what you expect to see, of what you expect to hear. And when you are not met with that, immediately you react to it. Because a funny thing about us as human beings, I feel like we walk into rooms looking for ourselves in other people. And when you don't find that, or when you find something that is entirely different from who you are, your initial reaction will be to attack or try to change it or try to beat it into fitting into whatever your idea of what's good or bad.
And not try to understand it? The initial reaction is not try to understand it?
Not entirely. No, not entirely. Yeah. If we were to be honest with ourselves, we are usually, again, even when you look at your friend group, for example, you will find pieces of yourself within these people. They are separate and whole away from who you are, but there's parts of them that draw you in, that reminded you of yourself. And that's why you formed a connection. And so when you can't do that, when someone, for example, as earlier as I was saying, it's a man and you're a man, or you identify as a man and you meet another man, your immediate reaction is going to be like, we can, I don't know what men do, but banter about football and sports and da-da-da-da. And then this man all of a sudden has feminine characteristics or feminine actions. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, why is this man like this?
Why? Why does that happen?
That's what I'm saying.
Because is it different from what they're used to? It's different from what they would consider to be normal?
What is normal?
This is why I said what they consider to be normal.
Okay.
Is it different from that? What you're accustomed to, what you're used to.
Exactly.
Right?
So immediately if the person who's presenting as a man is behaving differently from what you in your mind you consider normal, then your reaction is going to be negative without question. There needs to be a pause that happens, I feel like, where you try, just watch and see what happens.
Okay. So as we have this conversation, then in relation towards the 16 days of activism, towards an end to gender-based violence. And I think the mistake that we've made in the past is to think that this gender then was only connected to females.
Yes.
Because unfortunately, a lot of the cases that we saw about gender-based violence, females were the victims and continue to be in the majority. Now, when we are having this conversation about an end to GBV, we can talk about the physical acts. But as we have seen the progression, a lot of it is psychological. A lot of the change that we ought to see then must be in the mind. Now, when we talk about being on the receiving end, where do you think the role then of those within this community then is played in getting the quote-unquote other side to understand the position from whence you come?
Wow, that's a really big question, because my first thought is the conversation of what is violence and layering it, because you talked about psychological violence, but I also feel like there's other layers to it. There's emotional violence, there's verbal, physical, sexual violence, there's online violence, because now we have digital cells. And so when we break down what violence is, we can have that conversation for a really long time. When we now, present it to the fact that gender-based violence has, for the longest time, been centered around women. I also want to present a question where we talk about, when we talk about women, these are people who were born as female or presented as female with their biology, and they identify as women. But then women are also layered. There's a tomboy, for example. So I still present as a woman, but then I identify as a woman, but my expression is male, for example. Or I am a man and I transitioned into becoming a woman. Or I was born female and I am gender.
You know, you've actually gotten to the heart of the matter. When we talk about what people are used to, it's a simplification of what people are accustomed to and what they find easy to deal with. Okay?
Yes.
Discrimination is something people are taught from a very early age. When you talk of tribalism, when you talk about a class system, all these, they are taught.
Yes.
People aren't born with these things. The capacity exists. Now, the question that I've always asked is, why is it that it gets to be rabid and violent when it's now sexual orientation? Why at that point? Because if you look around the world, discrimination based on just differences, whether it's language, whether it's color, it exists. So how do you get people to understand that a difference is just that?
Yeah.
Part of diversity. It has nothing to do with good or bad. How?
You know, when you've asked that question, it's made me think of, I don't know if you've read Malcolm Gladwell's Talking to Strangers.
Who is Maxwell Gladwell?
Malcolm Gladwell is he's a journalist. He's an author. He's written various books. Blink.
You recommend that I read one of them? Okay. Maxwell Gladwell.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Malcolm.
Yes, Malcolm Gladwell.
Maxwell Glacom.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes, Malcolm Gladwell. So he in Talking to Strangers, he presents various ideas. Well, it's a focus on this lady called Sandra Bland's murder by a police officer somewhere in Texas. And of course, it's a very emotive thing because it's a black woman who was murdered. But the issue that he tries to address is, why did this police officer come to the point where he murdered this woman?
And was the police person black?
He was white.
Oh dear.
And so the question was, this lady who was just going to a new job, what was the issue? What was the misunderstanding? One of the principles he lays out in the early chapters is this question of default to truth, where he says, first, the idea that any person you meet, if they present a story to you, you want to default to that as the truth. And you want to believe that because it is very critical to the way in which society comes together. If we don't believe the things we hear from other people, we cannot live in a society that trusts one another. So the reality is, from the foundational or formational issues that you are talking about, we have now come up in society or in a community that excludes intentionally and often without interrogation, because that is how this society has continued to form itself and to form an identity. To challenge that truth becomes very, very, very difficult, because you then challenge the foundations of this society. He talks about, for example, the issue of these scams and the fact that we have scammers who come up and they steal from you all the time. But even when you are in the middle of that scam, you still try somewhere in your head to believe this is not a scam. This is not a scam at all. It's actually going the right direction. You have a default to truth that is fundamental to how you exist. If we then take that concept and we transpose it into the question of the LGBTQI plus community, the problem is that societally we have a default to truth that this issue that we are talking about challenges. And that it is so difficult to challenge that default to truth and to become skeptics about what we have grown up and been socialized to believe, that now when we come to the point of having the conversation, everyone's like, no, I'm not willing to accept because this is not something that I have seen as real or familiar to me. And so then how do other people respond? Because it's not just about what you believe, but your responses. And people respond in various ways. Other people will want to pray so that they can, because that is also another familiar tool that they have. Let's pray this away. We have to deal with that by praying it away. Other people then go to the full spectrum of violence is what I have known or I have inherited over time, because I can say definitively that violence is also an inheritance that people get. I have inherited violence as a tool of addressing things that challenge my ideas or my ideology, and that I'm going to use that, exercise that tool of violence to be able to challenge this thing that is unfamiliar, because you are now challenging the foundations of how I understand myself, my community, my family, and the world to be. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Well, you make a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I think that is my understanding of the question that you're asking and why people are having this struggle.
Often when people try to solve a problem, they get to the genesis and ask themselves what this problem actually is.
Yes.
And then you ask why it exists. Then you ask, how do you get to a point where this matter that we refer to as a problem is understood more as a concept and as an issue, not necessarily a problem? How do you get to understand it? You see, the moment you have a labeling and it acquires a negative connotation, then that connotation carries the day.
And that's marketing and branding anyway.
Yes. Nobody bothers to look beyond that. The takeaway home is that this is the situation. Now, unfortunately, again, when you are talking about matters that the discussion around has always been a sexual orientation in an African setting, that discussion becomes not just highly emotive, it's combustive. It's not something that people are going to discuss calmly.
Can I qualify that African setting and just add in a post-colonial African setting?
That would be appropriate.
Yes, because we have to talk about...
It would be accurate.
Yes, it has to be a post-colonial African setting, so that we say that we were in a scenario where we had certain values living as community. These values were altered, whether by force or otherwise, and that to that extent have then continued to crystallize over time and become familiar to people. But the thing is that it has to be an exploration still of identity and community in that context. Then now we talk about the volatility.
Do you ever bother to explain that the community we now refer to as LGBTQ existed in African societies, again, post-colonial times?
Yes.
I think pre-colonial or post-colonial.
No, I meant pre. Sorry, not post. Pre.
No, because this
post
is a thing that has
pre.
been recorded in very many ways, in very many contexts, but of course using different language. And I think the problem here is what was the language that was used to identify LGBTQI plus people in a pre-colonial era. What spaces existed for this community in a pre-colonial era? Books have been written about the issue and how even in spiritual contexts there were two-spirit people, for example, in certain contexts. Of course, arguments have been made about woman-to-woman marriage and what that looks like. Of course, that had nothing to do with sexual orientation, but it had a lot to do with community and how it existed, and really about the functions of people and how they presented. So We really have, and of course now, and at hand, I may not have those very specific books that I can refer to people, but I can look at it. But we have contexts in which there were LGBTQI plus people existing in various ways, in various functions in the community for very many centuries before we were colonized.
And even to just add on to that, like our languages are the easiest access to understanding just how fluid we were as a community, as a people, pre-colonial times. When we struggle with they, them pronouns, when we struggle with he, she pronouns, there is, Kiswahili, for example, nothing is gendered in Kiswahili. Unlike in English, in French even, where the kettles are gendered, or lamps are gendered, doors are gendered, everything is gendered. But then when it comes down to African languages, we left it fluid. We were just like, everything is as is, everything belongs here, we are all one people, and we moved.
So then why are we heading into pronouns then? Why not just go back into that era where we are not focusing on the pronoun?
But then,
and now actually that segues into where you explaining the pronoun. Why are people identifying as he, she? What are the others? They.
Yes.
What are all these others?
I think we are stuck as well, where we were left with languages that weren't ours and we had to deal with them as a way of being a part of a society that still doesn't want us to exist, which is an even bigger problem that all of us should, have a meeting and have a conversation about. But we were left with the languages that don't belong to us, and to be able to just express ourselves or explain in spaces in a way that people understand, we have to use the language. And
Ivy and Gilbert, would one be wrong, or would I be wrong in saying that the discussion that we are having now emanates from a Western perspective of this same discussion, and we are trying to transpose that discussion into an African setting. And because of the Western orientation of this same discussion, it becomes a very, very difficult thing to discuss, because the same subject could be discussed.
Square peg, round hole.
Yes.
I have something to say about that, actually, which is this, that, existence and identity is something that has been explored in various cultures around the world. The problem is that with colonialism, we then had a new frame and language within which to have these conversations. And then that came with the whole idea of globalization. Things that we already had, we already knew, and knowledge that had already existed for centuries was first extinguished, then new ways of knowing, understanding, learning, what we call epistemology, introduced. Imposed, really. And then after this epistemology is imposed, of course, with development and so forth, we now have the same people who robbed us of these things coming back to tell us the same things again. And so it's not anything new or strange or different. It is the language that we are using that is new, because it is language that, of course, has to be borrowed because it's the frame of colonialism and globalization. But we are not coming to new or strange conversations at all, or even saying that it is a Western idea, because there are many things that, as we have discussed, existed even outside of the Western frames of knowledge and understanding, including spirituality. And that is why, for example, we can say that we exist now, but we're a cumulative of our ancestors and the people who all came to bring us to this point where we are at, as Gilbert and as myself and as everyone else who is here.
I think if I want to go back to that issue of pronouns, and one of the things that we talked about now is an understanding. An understanding is pivotal in all of this. If we're saying that he, she, man and woman, male and female, is what people have been used to. And now we are saying that don't necessarily call me he or she, now call me they. Look at the other side of it. Are we not now compounding things and now saying, why should we get to that point whereby we're changing things completely from what we knew them to be? He, she, clear. And this comes back to my original question, that we spend quite a lot of effort trying to explain some of these things. And then we say, then give us an opportunity to still operate in society and in community as normal. But we spend a lot of effort trying to explain some of these things as to why somebody is no longer he and why they are they, why somebody is no longer she and why she then becomes they. As opposed for me to just focus on doing the work.
You see, Ndu, you've gotten the heart of the matter. Why I brought in the idea of the Western influence is what someone sitting on that seat yesterday, gentleman named Professor Kagwanja, brought in an interesting concept, dialectics. It's dialectical.
Yes.
You see, because this very same thing that because of the language, the frame as you call it, the he, they, she. You see, now, that discussion in my mind, I understand the genesis, I even understand the germane aspects of it. But the manner in which it is presented, is it really African? The answer it is no. Because when you look at the Western concept of their existence and how they look at themselves from a societal perspective, you begin with the I. We begin with the we.
We, exactly.
Very different. So even when you arrive at the conclusion of description, our identity is with everything around us.
Yes.
It's a communal identity.
Yes, we are not whole without that community. Now, theirs is completely different. So now, when you bring an idea, as you say, something that we understood in the way we understand things, but then you bring a Western frame to discuss it, can you see the collision?
Yes. Yeah.
Something that could have been understood now presents itself with...
I just want to understand as we conclude the pronouns. Yeah. Explain the pronouns.
Eric, let me ask you.
Yes.
What pronouns do you use in Kiswahili?
We are not speaking Kiswahili. We are speaking
No. I just want to understand. Do you use pronouns in Kiswahili?
No.
No, you don't. In I don't know what your traditional language is, but
no.
In traditional languages, do you use them? So this is not necessarily a question of the pronouns,
It's
but
okay,
the language.
Gilbert.
Now, let me start there. I'm building a frame. Allow me to build a frame.
We don't have much time. So
Okay.
let's just go into teaching people because people are listening and people have been getting confused. This one identify, they write he, she, they. What are those? And what do they mean? When you see somebody saying I identify as he, she, or this, him, her, what are those?
Simply put,
Yes.
he, him is what you were taught in school.
Okay.
It's a man.
Yes.
Or a boy. Male presenting.
Yes.
She, her is a woman. Identifies, expresses as a woman.
Okay.
They, them is someone who chooses gender non-binary, gender non-conforming. So they don't...
They're neither male nor female.
Exactly. So they present as those pronouns.
Okay.
And that also with he, him, and she, her, that also goes to trans people as well. If a trans person walks up to you, however they express, however they look to you, and they say, my pronouns are he. Like right now, if I told you my pronouns are he, please just use them. I said,
so then you can come tomorrow and say she.
No, I said he.
No, that's today.
No, that's what I'm saying, today. So if you come tomorrow and say, I am they, then I also must
It's not
accept that.
fluid like that.
It depends on different people, but I don't want to go there. What I'm saying is, because again, you said time. I'm keeping
When someone
time.
says he, it's masculine. She, feminine. They
is gender non-conforming.
Yes.
Gender non-conforming.
Yes.
Where?
So,
Hi. Gilbert Mitula is a lawyer, an academic, a consultant in human rights, criminal and justice and legal research. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks
Gilbert.
for having me.
And thank you as well, Ivy Werimba, who is a communications and advocacy officer at GALC Plus. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, people. Yes, humans.
Well, keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. This is the Situation Room. As we take a break, CT will be telling you about the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra with an S Pen that he'll be using. Okay, but that he'll tell us after when he's listening to the news. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
morning. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Only students who will be registered on the NEMIS system will receive study materials for junior secondary school in January. Education PS Bailey Kipsang has asked primary school heads to ensure that all students joining grade 7 are registered in order to facilitate the distribution of materials.
We shall also be working with our partners, including our members of parliament, to ensure, as the president directed, that our children are able to access all the basic facilities, including laboratories and books, as we do this particular transition. I will therefore ask you, as our ed teachers, that we capture all the information that was expected of us in NEMIS. Going forward, we shall only have one source of truth, which will be NEMIS, and all our activities will be NEMIS-based.
He further asked parents to prepare themselves to have their children at home full-time, as boarding schools for junior secondary students would be abolished soon.
We must remain with our responsibility. We co-parent with teachers. We don't outsource parenting to teachers. And therefore, we must work together towards making our children acquire the values that we expect of them. Therefore, as we move forward, day schooling will be the direction, because that's the only way we shall be able to engage with our children. And the first 9 years of our learning between grade 1 and grade 9, the direction that government will be taking is day schooling.
The controversy surrounding the death of baby Travis Minor has taken a new twist. Kenyatta National Hospital says the 2-year-old who had a forked jembe lodged in his head could have been a victim of a fight involving his parents. KNH CEO Evanson Kamuri told the Senate Health Committee that Judy Muthoni, the mother, after learning about the death of her son, wailed, saying the jembe had been aimed at her by the husband. The CEO said doctors who attended to Minor doubted whether the boy sustained the injury while playing with others. The CEO further accused Muthoni of lying about being asked to pay 20,000 shillings before the baby could be attended to. Now, Sarah Cohen, the widow of murdered Dutch businessman Tob Cohen, now wants to have property, pets and passport returned to her after the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nordin Haji, dropped murder charges against her. Sarah, through her lawyer Philip Murgor, called on the DPP, the Inspector General of Police Jafeth Kome, and the new Directorate of Criminal Investigations Mohammed Amin to act in good faith and release the confiscated properties to her. Her request came after the High Court allowed an application by DPP Haji to withdraw Tob Cohen's murder case against Sarah Wairimwe, co-accused Peter Karanja, paving way for an inquest. Sarah noted that she is well aware that her home has been completely destroyed since the beginning of the case, saying she will be pursuing compensation from those responsible. She went on to laud DPP Haji for having the courage to stand up to admit that the decision to charge her in the first place was wrong and without justification. Still on the corridors of justice, and the Murgor sisters have withdrawn assault charges against the Ndishu brothers after they issued a public apology to them and their companion. Cheryl and Stephanie were at the center of a confrontation with Paul and Eddie Ndishu, who are facing assault charges in an incident that took place in October last year. In their attached apology, the Ndishu brothers apologized for the events that unfolded at the City Hotel, terming them unfortunate. And a multi-agency team appointed by Kisumu Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o to probe the weekend Joakali area fire has identified electrical fault as one of the causes of the inferno. Chaired by acting city manager Abala Wanga, the team, which conducted investigations and interviews at the site, identified 3 possible causes of the fire, which raised down property worth millions of shillings. Kisumu Governor Anyang' Nyong'o, who received the report, said electrical fault has been identified as one of the causes of the fire. The electrical fault from one of the workshops that specialized in generator repairs, he said, could have triggered the fire based on the information collected on the site. Overnight cooking from one of the eateries at the affected area, he added, has also been identified as a possible cause of the inferno. He said the team was, however, also exploring arson as the cause of the fire, given a long-standing tussle between the Joakali artisans and a private developer of the parcel of land. And considering that just 24% of women utilize the internet compared to 35% of males, it is important to ensure that technological improvements do not exacerbate existing gender disparities in the digital sphere. Building inclusive innovation and technology system must be a part of efforts to leverage the potential of innovation and technology to support the economic, social and political development of women and girls in Africa. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4. Get to see the world through a new lens and capture the moments that truly matter.
.5 Spice FM.
Mombasa Road is
Kisumu.
packed up as you're getting into the city, and we're going to see some of that going out towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout and then connecting into Haile Selassie at that junction. Coming off Landis Road, it's spilling over to Haile Selassie as well. It's packed. In and outbound traffic is a thing. Jogo Road, Lunga Lunga, Likoni, spilling over to the interchange and touching on the southern bypass this morning. We're still seeing quite some traffic there. Also coming off a Thika Superhighway, that has not stopped, not about to, as well as Kiambu Road, which is not looking too terrible this morning, but we're likely to see that pick up closer to 8:30. Also on Limuru Road, City Park, out towards all the avenues of Parklands. Quite some traffic as well. Into the CBD is where you find the most of it this morning. Let's keep an eye on things, guys. It's not too terrible, but, you know, heads up. Let's know what's going on where you are. SpiceFM, KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start
2022. Happy Wednesdays. Why do they call it Hump Day?
I do not know. I've been
It's
asking
right
this
there.
question. A friend of mine. Ooh.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
So at the peak, and then everything starts going down. Voila, at the hump. Hey, you learn something new every day.
Imagine.
I've been asking a friend of mine forever, and he refused to tell me. Now I know.
Now you can see it. Now you get it.
I get it.
Very good. Tell us about so you are the lady for discounts. The shorty for discounts.
Call me Mama Claus. The shorty for what?
For discounts. For free school fees after buying kiwi.
Inside.
And now it's about discount for 37,000.
37,500 shillings. You have a few more days to go. This phone, the Samsung Z Flip 4. If you're ready to join the flip side with the new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4, you'll enjoy amazing features, a FlexiCam and videos, wonderful things, all doing this hands-free. You can do that with a discount of 37,500 shillings. Ordinarily, you need 150,000 shillings. But you know, Mama Claus and things like that. Christmas is coming. You know what? You can buy it for 112,500 shillings and still be on the flip side of life. I mean, it doesn't get better than that, does it? Because of Black November, Santa Claus and Rudolph and all those happy people. 37,500 shillings off. Do it today. Flip on to the Samsung side of life.
Where can you whistle at that man?
Yes.
Wish.
Oh, yeah. You know, you folks need to pay attention when he's speaking Creole.
So the proverb today is Creole.
Well, yes. I mean,
it's from Sierra Leone.
by public demand. The proverb is, you can't blow your nose, that's in English, and whistle at the same time. See?
She's trying.
Sisters got it like this. Yeah, whistle, blow your nose. If you think you can't, try. Try.
I don't have a handkerchief. I would have done it.
Precisely, okay. Now in Creole, this is how it goes. You know, go blow nose and whistle.
No.
It's written whistle, guys.
Don't go blow nose.
Spell that whistle thing.
W-I-S-H-U-L. Whistle.
Whistle. They're actually whistling as they speak. Whistle.
You can purse your lips as you said.
I now understand. You no go blow nose as you do wish.
Hey, see? Sister here has got it.
Higher. Higher. Say again. In Creole?
You no go blow nose and wish you. Yeah, this thing is really tickling, isn't it, Eric?
No go blow nose.
I'm struggling.
Eric, you're in the struggle. You are in the struggle.
Completely. Hey, yeah. So, still in talking about access to justice and all, and activism and gender-based violence and thinking gender issues, let's now talk about gender-sensitive mediation.
Mm-hmm.
And to join us in the studio this morning is a lady from the Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, Kenya. She is the Client Service Officer, Access to Justice team. Irene Ochola, good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Mm-hmm.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, the other conversation we're talking about gender identity, sexual orientation, expression. So we are focusing now on gender and the female gender.
Yes.
The others, they have their own conversation. Now, when you say gender sensitive mediation,
yes,
when you talked about you coming to join us earlier, we asked ourselves, so what does that mean? We've had conversations about mediation and what mediation is, but take us back now. Start with mediation,
right,
and then make it gender sensitive.
Right. Mediation is your space. If I break it down, mediation is your space to come and discuss your issues and name your terms so that you own your outcome.
Your space, your issues, your term, your outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. So then a mediator will come into this mediation space and bring the professionalism that you often lack when you talk to each other in other people's absence. So they will come and moderate the situation, the conversation, the rules, how you will navigate negotiation between the two of you, and hopefully then you're able to leave the mediator's presence with a settlement. Something that allows you to go into the future with less conflicts, and everyone is clear on their role in terms of what is left of this relationship that we had, or what is ongoing in this relationship that we have. Often in our space at FIDA, it's mostly parental. Parents created children, but now they're no longer a couple. But the element of being a parent precedes their conflict, and they have to manage that. In a way that is, if we have a jackpot, is good for them. But what we really want, it is safe for the children. Because adult relationships can be a bit difficult to navigate. Yes.
Okay. Now, you've actually now gone further. You've defined mediation very well.
Yes.
You've given us the mediation in the context of FIDA.
Yes.
But then you've only brought in the aspect of family disputes.
Yes.
Is that the only thing?
No.
That FIDA deals with when it comes to mediation?
Well, I will use safe words to describe family.
Okay.
All right? People in their situation may perceive themselves to be family. Other people may not imagine that's family because they have not been to the ages.
They haven't been introduced.
And they haven't been, and you see, they don't have a certificate.
Yeah.
So people call themselves many things. Sometimes when they look at those things under the lens of the law, then they are told, oh, no, you actually didn't have a marriage.
Yeah.
You had a relationship, and maybe it's called cohabitation. And sometimes people feel that puts on their table certain things and clause a lot more because they went into that situation feeling, I have a marriage. I have all the rights here. So then FIDA operates substantively. Really, the bulk of the things we do are in that family space, relational space. Let me use relational space as more descriptive of what we do, because you may not have what functionally people will refer to as family, but you have a relationship. And that relationship brings you to the table to discuss relational things. Going back to your earlier question, how then does this gender lens come in? Gender has to do with the roles that you functionally fulfill in life. When you go into a boardroom, depending on your gender lens and how you operate, do you expect to see it filled with all men? Or do you see it filled with all women? Or do you see a mixture of men and women?
Okay.
So that really drives how you interact with the world around you. When you have a child and you go to the push room and you're told it's a boy, do you see him skating to State House and his life is going to be one of amazing accomplishments because you see the boy child as coming with this privilege and therefore he's able to open these doors? And when you go to the push room and you're told you have a baby girl, do you see her in aprons? Do you see her going to the river to fetch water? So now you have suddenly added onto your pool of workers, people who are going to be able to fetch water, right? So how you see the world around you and the labels that you attach to people then is what you will assign them when you're looking at them in terms of what their gender roles are. You will see them as people who are enabled, can navigate life, can bring to the table what a man or a woman can bring to the table, right? So at FIDA then, we walk through life in the mediation space, looking at life through this gender lens. What is it that's happening around this table that is attributed to power imbalances? Because these inequalities in life bring imbalances in people's lives. Someone will come to my home and pay dowry, and from that point, they will say that now I own you. So all the education that your parents put you through is now null and void. You're going to stay home and take care of my children. Okay? So then that removes power from me in terms of how am I going to navigate life in the professional world. Okay? Culture may be the driving force in this man's world. And he says, my mother did not go to the office space, and there's all of awful things that happen in the office space, so then my wife will not go into the office space. And culture is driving his understanding how he interacts with the world around him, and therefore will be limiting this person's life. So when you come to the relational conversation I talked about earlier, you have children, and with these children, you have responsibilities. With responsibilities, you need resources to be able to navigate your parental situation. So at a time when we are fighting more and loving each other less, or maybe never, people tend to withhold onto the resources they have. Sometimes using that to punish you, who is now the new enemy. Okay? So when I sit around the mediation table and these parents actually have responsibilities and obligations defined in law that you're supposed to provide, and I've been playing wife, you can't go to work, and I have no resources, and I'm used to begging for you to give me. Now that we are in this not very nice place, mostly hostile, how would we continue to fulfill the parenting obligation? Because the reality of what happens at a desk is by the time, sadly, let me add sadly, by the time the parties actually come to us, one of them has usually sort of moved on, found new ways of finding comfort, new ways of what their money can do. So by the time you're coming to FIDA, you want to be clawing from that plate, and they're not very happy.
So let's just put it this way, Irene.
Yes.
So by the time people are coming here,
yes,
one party at least has moved on.
Most of the time.
Has a new partner.
Most of the time.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And has found other ways of spending their money.
Yes.
With this new partner.
Yes.
Or with this new life.
Yes.
And the other party that now is on the holding the shorter end of the stick is wondering, so now what? Okay, continue.
Yeah. So when FIDA is exercising gender-sensitive mediation, it's not about going out of our way to side. It's about seeing this lens for what it is, acknowledging that these people had a life. These are their new choices. How can we support them in these new choices to navigate their interests and their needs?
Now, FIDA
is
the Federation of Women Lawyers of Kenya.
Yes.
Okay? Already, perception-wise, bias.
Absolutely.
So when you talk about FIDA, women, and then you say
gender balance,
gender bias, gender sensitive.
Yes.
It doesn't come out as gender sensitive. It just comes out as women sensitive mediation.
Yes. Yes.
Do you face that a lot with the parties when the parties are coming to you?
Oh, yeah.
Like most of the parties that will apply for you to mediate for them will be the women.
Very true.
And the men then?
Very true. And women literally, live life around our worlds knowing they own FIDA. Okay? They own FIDA, and FIDA is occasionally, when it's very convenient, they whip society. I'm going to take you to FIDA.
Yes.
They're going to do to you what I think they should do to you.
Yep.
So sometimes they're frustrated when FIDA doesn't do to the men the things that they want FIDA to do to the men. And that is the scenario, the environment around the mediation
That is the
space.
question I'm asking.
Okay?
Irene.
Men can actually...
When cases come to you and you're doing this gender-sensitive mediation, is it sensitive to both men and women equally?
And that's where I'm going.
Okay.
Okay? And hang on to my gender lens narration.
Okay.
Because the parties actually who show up at FIDA have equal opportunity to knock on our doors to seek mediation services. The woman doesn't have does not have exclusive rights to seek mediation. A man, just like the woman, can leave their house and say, I have trouble at home, I need FIDA to assist because we're not getting along. Okay? So that space is open to the man as it's open to the woman. When they step into the mediation space, they bring their needs. They raise their interests. The man is not pegged on the interest the woman raised earlier. It's open space. She raised these, but you also have the same opportunity to name what your interests and your needs are.
As the mediation begins,
yes.
Because obviously from the very first thing that you talked about, bi-party, four-party, for those which you all then be comfortable with.
Yes.
Into a mediation,
right?
Is it led by a FIDA mediator?
FIDA aligned mediator, which means this mediator isn't just a mediator who's purely done mediation training, but they are also versed with gender-based issues.
Okay.
Yes.
So, do we go into this mediation with a skew towards understanding that the female then should benefit over and above anybody else from the mediation? Is that what you go in?
I will not. The person who benefits over and above everybody else in this session should not be the man or the woman, it's the children.
Okay.
It's the needs of the children. So who is it who can fulfill what functions in terms of what they're claiming that will benefit the children the most?
Okay.
The greatest beneficiary is the
child.
children, not these two parties.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So because then when we're sick, because we're talking about gender sensitivity, if you can open it up for us a little bit,
Yes.
where does the sensitivity then apply? Is it just based on what you've said? The sensitivity then is applied towards the subject of these two parties coming together.
Yes.
The sensitivity is applied towards the children. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
So, okay, please.
Let's say we remove the children out of the equation, all right? So then they have a civil matter. These people invested in some property. They're not married, so they can't call it matrimonial property, but they have a civil claim against each other. They're now going separate ways. How can they come and discuss how they're going separate ways without tearing each other
apart.
Okay? So then the interest that they have, say we have this property, I want this person to just indemnify me, only give me back what I put in. Okay? Mediation helps these people think about how can I navigate my best interests from this conflict, right? If, say, the woman put in more and the man put in very little, it's not about what I think as a mediator should be the settlement out of this. It's nudging their consciences into thinking, how best can you walk out of this with least conflict and all of you guys are comfortable and happy? Yes. So I am aware that this man may be wanting to divide this in the middle somehow, because maybe he feels whatever he put in kind should enable him to get to that place. But how can I, when I do, there's an element of mediation that's called caucus, talking with the parties separately. So how do you, them having named their interests, how do you help them come to the middle so that they can see through each other's lenses? This is what I would like, but this is what I need. Yes. So you balance these people's needs, not because you're siding with either party.
Yeah.
Yes.
So essentially, the role that you've just described, can one summarize it as marriage guidance and counseling session?
Will not be
end
counseling.
End of marriage guidance.
During a counseling session.
I would not, well, counseling is the word you use. I term it guidance. It's guidance into how they can resolve this dispute. But we don't do counseling inside a mediation, because counseling brings on board a lot of therapy that we don't do in mediation. Mediation, we focus on the needs and the interests. But if you have a counseling need, then of course we usher you into yet another space, which is the psychosocial program.
You know?
Yes.
When the moment you bring in the subject of needs,
yes,
your counseling, it does not matter what you say. The moment someone has the opportunity to talk about what is bothering them,
yes,
counseling has begun. Therapy is on course. Because what you're saying is that the ability to discuss these things among themselves was not possible.
Yes.
So they've come to a neutral party to air their deepest hurts and problems regarding this particular subject.
Yes.
There really is no difference between, as far as that is concerned. But you take it a step further. You then look at perhaps some of the mundane issues around it.
Yes.
But in a relationship of whatever nature, you can't divorce the emotions from it.
Excellent. Absolutely agreed.
Yes.
Yes.
So, an understanding of this. Now, I'm going somewhere with what I'm saying.
Yes.
I'm going to ask.
Yes.
When you have individuals who are mediators, beyond being trained as mediators and beyond some of them being lawyers, what else are they trained in?
They could be a pilot, they could be a chief, they could be a doctor. They come from wherever they're coming to, and they train as mediators. What is useful is them being able to identify those emotional issues that sometimes have the power to derail the mediation process, right? So us equipping them with gender sensitivity is for them to know when they're in session, what should I be nudging these people towards? For example, when people come into mediation, I said earlier, some people have moved on, 10 steps, their lives are rolling. Some people are still here with anger and resentment and betrayal. So when they are in mediation, they are jostling but unequally, right? Some people are very much on the emotional side. Some people are very much on the functional side. The element and skill we use in mediation is allow these people to ventilate. Not ventilate so that I can journey with them as a therapist would, but allow them to move beyond their emotional leaning into now a functional space. Yes, I have had these pains. You've betrayed me like this. You did this with my sister, and you did this with the maid, and you did this with that colleague you work with. But now,
here we are.
Here we are. So mediation gives them several opportunities to come and ventilate, get it out, so that perchance they get into this space where now they both are seeing, okay, all this has been said and done, but now we are parents we have this to resolve. How do you want to resolve it? And I've accepted. Yes, I even moved on with this person who I betrayed you with.
Yep.
But now we are parents. So the mediator keeps nudging them into that space. But we're not without the opportunity to ventilate until these emotions are reasonably spilled out. Because if they're not, these guys are not making any progress. Where they take the pains is where therapy comes in. They can take it to a therapist, outside of the mediation session and do the healing journey from that point on. Yes.
When you come from this break, I want to ask you, what about the instances where what's in contention is not the children, but the property? Minus children.
Okay.
What lens do you then wear at that point? It's 8:30. Let's take this quick break. Irene Ochola is a client services officer, access to justice at FIDA Kenya. We are talking about gender-sensitive mediation and giving us from the context of FIDA and how they do it. Let me tell you something, Irene. You know this place called Vipingo in Kilifi County?
All right.
Yeah. The road from Mombasa to Malindi is now being expanded into a dual carriageway.
Right.
They will finish it soon. In Vipingo, there is an airstrip.
Okay.
So flight to Nairobi to Vipingo is direct.
All right.
If you want to use SGR, then you can get off at Mariakani and go to Kilifi. You can get off at the end of the final terminus and go to Kilifi. You get to Vipingo. However you want to go to Vipingo, it's now easy. Now there's Vipingo Development, which is owned by Centum Real Estate. It's doing some big work in Vipingo. And this is a mixed-use development, industrial and residential. Let's talk about the residential bit. They have done houses, 500 units, apartments and villas. 500 have been sold. We are now into phase 2. If you'd like to buy, this is the opportunity and the time to buy. You can text the word Vipingo to 22365. They'll give you more information. That's Vipingo to 22365. Or you can call them at 0740 400 215. 0740 400 215. They have apartments from as low as 1.25 million shillings. That is, what is it called? Not bedsitter. What's a fancy word for it? It's studio.
Studio apartments, please.
Studio, not bedsitter. Studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. And they've got villas. The Awali Estate and the Kingswood Homes villas from 15.5 million shillings. 3 bedroom plus DSQ plus, of course, then you have water. They have a desalination plant on site. Water is from the ocean, which is just about 100 meters, into the desalination plant, into the estate. There's power. There's an airstrip. There's a road. There's everything that you need. You're Tumeskia?
Nimesikia.
Very good.
Yes.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yolanda Mulwa, DJ Absolute. When the gang is together. Got the sugar, got the spice.
Yorada.
Yes.
I have missed you like hot hamburgers. Yeah?
Like hot hamburgers.
You know, bad boys give more money than you can count.
Hey, bad boys give more money than you can count. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock, but if I were you, I'd tune in to
Sugar and Spice only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So if you say it's on, then it's on.
Yeah. All right, so we're still looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi, going to highs of 26 and lows of 17 today. It's 16 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 27 and highs of 24. In a cloudy Nyeri at 16, 17 and cloudy in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 12. And it's raining at 27 in Mombasa, highs of 32 and lows of 25. We'll see partly sunny conditions at 28 in Malindi, going to highs of 31 and highs of 29 in a cloudy Kisumu at 22. It's also 22 and cloudy in Kakamega, highs of 30 and lows of 14. The sun is up now in Kampala, highs of 27 and it'll go to highs of 32 in Dar es Salaam, where it's raining at 28. It's 15 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 32 in a mostly clear Lagos. It's raining at 24 in Kinshasa, highs of 30 and lows of 23.
Spice and everything nice. All right.
Spice up your life.
All right, so continues on the Thika Superhighway this morning. Somebody said the Matatu driver saw a little traffic on Thika Road and decided to use another available route to town. We are now in Pyongyang, North Korea. Service lanes, folks, on the Thika Superhighway, use them. They will help. You don't have to end up in Southeast Asia. Okay, so what else are we looking at now on the roads? We see some traffic coming out of Westlands and it continues on Landis Road, etc., etc. And that's going to be busy for some time. Coming into the city, coming out of Westlands. Langata Road looks a lot better now. Gong Road, a little bit here and there as you get towards the City Mortuary roundabout. Ring Road Westlands is packed, as is James Gishuru. It still continues on the Thika Superhighway, just past the drifts now. Kiambu Road has done very well this morning. Limuru Road, different story. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's talk there in an attempt to keep things moving this morning.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice.
Yes.
Tell Irene about the Buds 2 Pro.
Let me tell you. Irene, I know, especially come COVID times, that a lot of meetings that we needed to have then were done virtually, isn't it? And we also know that the number of people who line up at feeder gates, sometimes the line used to go, people were just looking for some kind of reprieve. In many occasions, that meant that you needed to meet people virtually. Sometimes now the virtual meetings, mediations may be set up virtually.
Yes.
Samsung has come up with these funky earbuds. You put them in,
Yes.
you're engulfed in the sound. Your world changes. No distractions. Filters out the sound from outside. You do your mediations, you move. You listen to music to rest your brain before mediation 2 takes place. They've taken all that into consideration, shutting out the noise from outside so you can concentrate on what's happening. They're called the Samsung Buds 2 Pro. They really are a professional piece of technology here that allows you to listen and work and enjoy and be entertained at the same time.
Amazing.
Good. Now, Irene.
Yes.
So people have come to you.
Yes.
They're at this end stage of their relationship.
Yes.
Whatever relationship this has been,
Yes.
legal or not legal, there's a relationship.
Yes.
And there are some things that they own together. And those ones are in contention.
Yes.
Now, how do you apply this gender sensitivity and lens to this mediation?
You see, when it comes to property, I know that at the tail end of this journey, for people to walk away feeling it's been settled, they will need to demonstrate some sort of contribution. Because if they don't agree in mediation, they're definitely headed to court. But you see, when they were back here starting this journey, they weren't thinking court. They were thinking love, accommodating each other, building a dream together, believing in each other's dreams. That is what the conversation was about.
The benefit of the doubt.
Yes, you know, this person. Yes, they invested in trust.
Yes,
where this journey was beginning. So my task in mediation is to try and to rekindle the reason why we are here. That is, this is what we believed in. And by doing that, I'm trying to massage their conscience so that they may decide, yes, I can, by virtue of evidence, I can demonstrate that I own all of this. But by virtue of where we began, how do you think you want to navigate this journey in a way that is almost conflict-free and allows you to proceed in life without this one always clawing you back and pulling you back into a battlefield? Yes. So we will have the conversation around how do you want to deal with this in a way that is most reasonable in terms of how you see the quality of life it will bring you. Because many times people have not used the opportunities in mediation to navigate that kind of conflict, and they've proceeded to court where they demonstrate and show all the evidence that they actually should get all of this. But after they have gotten a ruling that actually gives them what they want, now they don't have the quality of life because this person will not give them the privilege because they didn't have this opportunity to navigate their emotions, ventilate, and start seeing rationally what is reasonable. So the answer to how they're resolving this is in their hands, in their minds. But I am massaging their conscience to see how they can resolve it in a way that helps them to retain power and peace of mind.
So you're basically pushing both parties to compromise.
Yes.
To find a way to meet each other halfway.
Yes.
There are some cases where I'm sure you'll tell us where people have come and property is registered in one of the party's names.
Yes.
And then this other party is basically coming to try to prove that they contributed towards the acquisition of this property. In some cases, property is jointly owned and jointly registered.
Yes.
And the dispute then is on, after we've parted ways, who does what with their share of this property? How do you handle those two? Let's start with this latter aspect, where, many cases nowadays, people are co-registering and co-owning property.
Yes.
And you've come to that end of a relationship.
Yes.
And this one person says, I want to keep it. The other one says, if you keep it, then you give me my money. Because I wanted us to sell it so I can have money to move on. Because you see, you've taken the money and you've taken with that, blah, blah, blah. So I need something.
Yes.
How do you resolve those disputes?
Right. Let me even throw a spanner in the works a little. So this couple is living here. They have a family, or they're doing what they're doing together. But the man impresses upon the woman because she's in these many chamas and there's opportunity for resources.
Yes.
So she actually gets this loan
from her
chamas. And the money is what buys this piece of land, which now, as the point of when we're buying it, the money is promising to help pay it off. But at the point of this piece of land being put on a deed, it turns up with one name.
The man's name.
Yeah, more often than not. So you see how this is really awkward. I borrowed the money. You promised to pay back the loan. Now it's my salary.
That's repaying.
Yes, but you have your name on the deed.
Yeah.
It's very complex. It's very complex. The only reason she literally withdrew the money and put it in the man's hands is not that her hands couldn't hand over the money. She was working on the basis of the best interest of us, the trust. And that is what she feels is being betrayed here. I put trust in you, in us. So in mediation, that is what I need to trigger back. How did we get started? What was the goodwill that we intended from this? And there are tools in mediation that is used to navigate these people's conscience. It's called a BATNA. What's my best alternative to a negotiated settlement? What's my worst alternative? If I needed to live a reasonable quality of life, what decisions do I want to make? Is my conscience, can it come alive to understand that actually this is a ripoff? What I'm doing is not right. I need to really just do the right thing. We need to go to the lands office somewhere and move this title back to this name. Because really that is what it should read. And if we are unable in mediation space to help you see through those lenses, clearly court maybe cannot be avoided. Worst case scenario, maybe the grave.
But go ahead and do.
No, go ahead.
No, please, I insist. Go ahead.
Okay, sure.
Please mediate.
Yes. Do you find that mediation then usually becomes the way out? That people are choosing mediation over the court system to be able to sit and say, okay, let's duke this out here, as opposed to going into the courts, and why?
And sometimes they don't choose mediation up front.
Okay.
They actually choose mediation when they look through the... Yes.
Okay.
Because they've gone to court, and maybe it's taken 20 years. A child that was born is now 20, and they're still battling. The same resources they want to redeem in this property is the same they're expending on lawyers. So they actually come to their senses. Now, when that now is the ventilation process of the resources are actually dwindling and it's going to other people's pockets. Can we talk about this? Is there a way we can talk about this? Now they start to, choose mediation. Let's talk about this. And you find that when they have experienced the toils of what that legal process brings their way, they are more agreeable to settling this conversation in mediation. Because the outcomes that you settle in mediation, you're able to execute. If it was a boundary issue, we are okay to go and bomoa this wall and put it here because we discussed, nursed our emotions, brought out what our frustrations are, and we were heard and we were understood. And therefore, when we are finding a new solution, we are taking into account what this one found was hurtful and disrespectful, and what this one feels is the right thing to do, because I felt in the first instance you are actually disregarding my right and my interest in this matter. Yes.
Do you ever have situations where people come to mediation because they want to save their marriage?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And are there instances when you've advised people that the best way forward is to actually part?
It's not for me to tell them to part. It's for me to say the risks that I see, the risks that this brings is X, Y, and Z. So how you want to navigate that journey around those risks is now for you to pronounce. Maybe sometimes they say, I want a separation. Let's have a separation and see how things go for 5 months. Meanwhile, let's see if our relationship, this emotional butterfly effect thing, can rekindle. All right? So then they will actually do that decision. It's their decision. It's not my decision that if someone goes out of the mediation room and they go and stray, then the new fight when we meet the next time is now there's infidelity. No, it's not going to be on me because I said you should separate and try separation for a while. They're going to have to name it, and they're going to name how do they want to live now that it's a preservation venture to see if their marriage can heal. It's not about going to explore. So they will bind each other. But as we are separated, this is also how we deal with the opposite sex. And we want to do this and we don't want to do this. So are we separating in the same house, out of the same house? What are we doing? Different bedrooms? It's their conversation. It's their choices. I cannot pronounce. I cannot pronounce what they're going to do.
But can you suggest?
I'd be curious.
Because you talked about caucuses.
Yes, caucuses.
You talk about caucuses when you say, okay, here, look, this is what we have on the table.
Yes.
Would you be amiable to X, Y, Z?
Right.
You have a caucus with the other party and say, look, this is what the other side is saying.
Yes.
Tell me your wants. Can you suggest and say, look, this is what X is saying they can do, while maintaining this sensitivity upon which all of this is based on.
Yes.
This is what this side is saying that they can live with.
Right.
This is what you're saying your barest irreducible minimums are.
Yes.
Can you suggest? You're not making the decision, but
Yes.
you're placing it on the table. Can you do that?
Not outrightly. Say, these people are fighting, okay? The makeup is great. Now, this woman feels because the makeup is great, it can get better because this man promises that if I don't do certain things, then he doesn't need to beat me. But this woman is conflicted because she knows she needs to be in a safe place. She needs to not be in the space where she'll be beaten all the time. But because the makeup is great, and this is the school of thought of the violence we live in, and the cyclical way, the cycle of violence we live in as humans and as partners, there is a part of this relationship that is really sweet, even though the bigger part is nasty. So then she keeps on wanting to break the circuit of abuse by leaving this man. But the makeup is always the restoration valve. It's great. When the makeup comes, we are in Dubai, we're watching World Cup, we're doing this, I have a new car. You see, it's amazing things, the things that this man does to redeem. So therefore, where I'm sitting as Irene, seeing this conflict, is not the same way she's seeing this conflict. She's not seeing it that way because I don't benefit from the makeups, but she does. So when I sit with her in caucus, I don't talk about leaving. I talk about safety. How do you think you can stay safe? What things can keep you safe? So she can start mirroring the pain, not just what the makeups bring. So she may actually say, I think I may go and live with my parents for a bit. You see, I can nudge that conversation. And if you should decide to go and stay with your parents for a bit, how do you want to work around the bigger picture that brought you here? How do you want to continue journeying there? You see how I'm supporting the idea to go. I'm supporting her own thinking. But I am bringing it in subtle ways so that she will not go back and say when they are in the great makeup mode, it's that woman of feeder who said I should.
And she kept telling me I should leave.
And they throw you under the bus. Any day, every day. They do throw you under the bus. So you're safer not being the engineer of certain words that you know may be used against you, but you know the bigger picture with your mediation experience. You know how this person, if they made these choices, maybe it may break the circuit. So without naming them overtly, you know how to bring the conversation around the table in ways that also allows you to stay safe.
What are some of the common issues that you have found over time,
Yes.
common here, that are brought to FIDA for mediation?
The bulk really of issues, custody and maintenance. Custody and maintenance is almost 80%. Matrimonial property is a smaller percentage. Property people have is not matrimonial property, but is property that people have invested in together is then also another smaller percentage. Succession. Parents died. There's a booty here that people don't know how to navigate and share. That also is another smaller percentage, but the bulk
is custody.
Is custody and maintenance, okay? If they came earlier, much earlier, when they were still in this space where, do I want it, do I not want it? Maybe then marital restoration might have been also a big part of these matters that we help them with. But like I said earlier, most of the time, people come and they already, walishajipanga. They have known how to redeem themselves in this journey that they think is going south.
So it's mostly about the custody. Now,
Yes. Custody and maintenance.
this maintenance bit, the greater percentage as well
Yes.
will be the women seeking maintenance.
Yes.
And are they using the children as leverage?
And many times, that can happen, all right? And that's why then there is a professional mediator who keeps the things where the things are supposed to be. For instance, we have been living together and our children go to the private school that is not too far away from us, and it's manageable for us. Within our finances, we've actually managed that. But now that we're apart, and maybe, and God bless you, maybe you have stumbled upon big bucks. You sprung out of COVID and you got this new job that is going to really line your pockets nicely. But I don't know how you got that job, but maybe you need to return favors, which means maybe you're abandoning this ship so you can jump on that other ship. Okay? So I see this new box and I'm thinking, okay, when we were in the dumps, we struggled there together.
We were struggling together in the trenches.
So now that you're jumping, you've gotten
some money.
It's time for us to soothe our experiences with your new money. Okay? So you find I may, as a woman, say, okay, so this ship is sinking. How do I get some of that? So I decide that suddenly our children can't go to this private school that they've been going to. Now we are separating. Now they need to live the quality of life that money should bring. Now they are moving to British systems. We're starting to talk really big money in terms of the children's schooling. And sometimes the men come to say, I disagree with this conversation because the woman is more about give me the money. in my hands.
Yeah.
Let me go and pay these things, and I will give you receipts. But the men are saying, no, give me the structure, the school fee structure. I want, if that is the new fees, they are my children.
I'll pay
I want
to the
the
school.
money to. So sometimes men feel that there's the fishing expeditions. There's how people amplify the truth.
But I didn't hear. I'm hearing power play here.
Mm-hmm.
I have the might.
Yes.
And I am going to decide how this thing works, really.
Yes.
And I'm also hearing that many of the cases that come to you,
yes,
these women are, if I may use a term that is commonly used, are disempowered.
Very true. And now allow me to qualify that feeder, actually, the ideal feeder client is the woman who is not earning much. If feeder did not offer a free legal service, they actually would have to let go of that right. They are indigent women most of the time. So they are not the women who are wielding huge paychecks. So they actually, most of them are struggling.
Have you had cases of men who come in, again, this sharing and pairing thing
Yes.
of properties and so forth, where it is the man who's claiming maintenance?
Very few, but yes. There are men actually who come to feeder who created children, but because of how life deals us certain blows, they're actually back living with mommy. So they are 40-year-old man who we invite to mediation by virtue of the fact they're a biological parent, but they tag mommy along because she's the one who can decide how much of her resources she's going to contribute to her grandchildren. So there is a very critical element in mediation. It's called the authority to settle. So you don't sit around a table in mediation and you don't have the people who have the authority to settle. And therefore, if this man will also, during the conversation around providing for the children, also say, oh, by the way, you were supporting us when we were married. I was a house husband.
Yep.
All right? And you were providing for all our needs. So I will continue requesting you to provide for my needs because you did when we lived together. That is a conversation that can come on the table.
Has it come?
Not yet. Maybe ego is doing a number on that, but it hasn't come. But in terms of a man bringing his mother along to help fulfill his duty to his children, that happens quite a number of times.
Then it actually has come. Because by the time you tag your mother along, it means it's an admission that you have found it difficult to fulfill those duties.
Yes.
That is putting it as politely as I can.
Yes.
And so you require support. So you bring in the support battalion.
Irene, if somebody wanted to get your services,
Yes.
how would they get to you?
Okay. There's a toll-free number, 0800 720 501.
0800 720 501.
That you call without airtime, without anything. You just call and you reach feeder. So that is First Avenue.
Okay.
If you know where our offices are, we run a legal aid clinic. It's on Amboseli Road in Lavington. We run a legal aid clinic Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in Nairobi, and Monday and Tuesday in the regional offices, which is Kisumu and Mombasa. We have CBOs, community-based organizations, that we collaborate with at the grassroots levels. And if you get in touch with them or you stumble upon them, they will give you a reduced version of the service that we would offer you at the 3 feeder offices.
Okay.
Yes.
Irene, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
We
you.
welcome
too,
you
for
to come
having
again
me.
soon.
Thank you.
Irene Ochola is the Client Service Officer, Access to Justice at the Federation of Women Lawyers in Kenya, FIDA Kenya. We've been talking about gender-sensitive mediation and the importance of actually taking into consideration all that and wearing the gender lens. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. We're coming up to the top of the hour. Remember, buy Kiwi, stand a chance of winning what?
35,000 shillings.
School fees.
Guaranteed airtime.
Stand up and shine. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life